And with the Alistar as well, you see exactly how NIP's comp is going to function. Go in with one of those big divers, Galio follows up, Jhin presses R, Gwen presses R, hopefully the person you hit dies. The response from OMG, though, will be that Renata, which is probably the premier anti-dive support going.
And it's also really good in lane versus the Alistar, and that's going to be a bit of an issue. Varus Renata, difficult to lane against, especially as an Alistar. This is kind of just leave 1v2ing lane with a little bit of a help from Alistar if there's a slip-up, and then just trying to get yourself towards that mid-game. So, it's, weirdly folks, it's even though there are 4 melees on NIP, this is actually quite a ranged game for the standards of LPL the last day. Yesterday we had a game with 8 melee champions.
So LPL.
It was just the AD carries that works, which does tend to speed things up. So yes, I think you rightly describe the team comps. Dive from, there's a little bit of dive on both sides, but really does look like NIP are focusing on pin down that first target with the Vi, follow up, and see if you can kind of bypass the Renata disengage, which is the core to the team fight of the other side. Use that Renata and Sejuani to buy time for the double AD carries to pop off.
Yeah, exactly that. And then I think the other thing you've then got to keep an eye on is who is getting hit by that Sejuani ult. Are they getting hit regularly? Chains of Corruption, similar question. Because if you are missing those key skill shots, the Ambessa might not have as easy a time of getting the damage out. You are going to do that to buy your disengage. So I think there is a certain amount of predilection, to use that word today, to say if OMG are going to win this, they need to be pretty good with that skill shot accuracy. The lights are flying. That means the cameras are rolling. Surely that means action is shortly to follow.
Logic would dictate that, wouldn't it? So it's a little bit of a battle for the lineage of OMG today. OMG the org or OMG the players, and Shanjiaki and PP God Creams have been playing later today. So that'll be a little narrative hit. Let's hear some of those gyos.
Okay. Angry Noxus music plays in the background, nice and ominous. Look for an early invade there from the AD carries of OMG, Linfeng and Starry.
Linfeng.
It is Linfeng. Yeah, you know, Alex, I second guessed myself before I said it, and I went, oh no, I know we had this conversation about how it's supposed to be said, but I now can't remember whether it's supposed to be Linfeng or Linfeng, and I'm judging myself.
You know, I was having a conversation with, there was a comment on Reddit which was asking a genuine question about, well, you know, how should you pronounce, you know, 1xn or, well, that's the, well, no, that's
so
Yichen.
Yichen.
Yichen is one Jiang is that player. Anyway, level 2 is potentially going to get fought over here from leaving PP God. Not bad level 1 actually from PP God and leave, considering that the only thing you can really contribute as Alistar is that headbutt, but they've overstayed a little bit into a few more autos after that.
No, Yichen is the Chinese pronunciation of 1xm.
We will move on from that.
That was the... We're going to have a... Hey, moving on. PP God goes for the headbutt in. There's the Ignite coming on down. I think it should be fine, but actually was a great level 1. Suddenly gets a lot worse as PP God ends up eating quite a lot of damage just from the Renata Varus combos.
Yeah, fighting for that level 2 does mean that Starry Mom, you get to win the arm wrestle in a way that we kind of assume, right? Is anyone really clearing towards bot lane? Sejuani is. Aki says, alright, I'm just going to start bot side and then just leave him alone. As we said, it kind of is just that Jhin playing on his own for a little while, then just hoping to get towards mid-game without dropping too much, which Jhin normally has good access to farm, but it's still a little bit risky.
Again, Mom just using that push to step forward for the loyalty program. Gets a lot of value then onto Leave, who gets a fair amount of follow-up because the Varus just aims his E at wherever the loyalty program is going. Harry has eaten a bit of damage top, so it does feel like we've seen over the last 2 days in particular a lot of Gwen into the Ambessa, and you can start to see the Ambessa doesn't enjoy that matchup all that much.
Yeah, for those of you that are unaware, we have a big patch. We had a big patch coming in, which meant that Gwen's changes came through, which were something like 13 changes the champion, which hit like her late game passive, but then her early game everything got buffed. So Gwen is in a really good spot, in incredible solo queue stats. It just means that the individual matchup is very hard to overcome Gwen on individual level.
I'll also say, not that we're necessarily going to say it, but if we were ever going to see it jungle, now would be a good patch for it. Her clear on this patch, 307. 307 game, no smites.
Yeah.
That is pretty nuts.
We were actually, yeah, I was talking about that earlier in draft, actually, just before you came in. So, yeah, I also was saying, look, if there's a team which would flex it around, you do feel like it would be NIP. Speaking of that jungle, though, there's a vibe which we might be able to jump on before. You just get some damage here.
Getting caught in the winds of war there as well, actually. That's not a bad little timing on that from Aki. Looking for that ward after the clear onto the Raptor pit. There's a good sign for you junglers. Once you're done full clearing, your ward should be off cooldown if you've used it at your level 1. Please consider putting it onto enemy Raptors or enemy Krugs. It's really helpful for spotting out what the enemy jungler's doing as doing, but he has to flash away as Linfong just stands there and Gatling guns him down.
Well, what it was he walked up and made sure that the Justice Punch is interrupted. So it meant that he didn't actually get the dash out, it kind of dashed into him instead, because the thing about the Galio is that, like, you have that little back step, and then he ended up interrupting that. Didn't expect him, I think, to just walk up into him and stop that.
Shanji now going to try and step on forwards and get a decent chunk off. Does so. Very forces a flash himself, actually, with all the energy he had available. So Shanji could be regretting that one just a touch.
Yeah, so some mistakes from the solo lanes of NIP, both losing summoners for quite simple laning mistakes there. Dragon and Grubs are up, and you see the observer just zoom in again and be like, yeah, so is Dimby going to get interrupted on that Justice Punch again? Wait and see. Because of course we were saying this before, look, especially early in the game, Galio is good at kind of shrugging off magic damage, not really good at shredding off the other stuff. Can be a bit of an issue, especially with Corki being such a good early laner. So OMG going to walk towards early Dragon. Aki not going towards anything particular right now, because Grub's spawning a little bit later. Wants to go for a back, gets himself a bit more combat potential. The Tunneler gives you a good amount of HP and AD early on. I wonder whether OMG feel bold enough to contest Grubs as well as this early Dragon, because they did take the Dragon so early. They can now reset, go back, and then go towards the Grubs. So NIP are moving up there. They normally consider that their right to go towards the Grubs because they lost the Dragon on the other side of the map. But OMG, we'll see whether they want to contest. They do have Harry going down towards bot side, so their bot lane will be on top side if they want to contest.
Worth noting here as well, Leave hasn't gone for a first item Dirk or something like that, which you often see on the Jins right now that have been really preferring that collective first item over the last patch or two. Instead, it's just a straight Swifty saying, look, I'm not enjoying getting poked down lane. I feel like I need the mobility to deal with the Varus, the Corki. And it's gone for that as the first item choices. So not so much damage, but a little bit of utility there for the Jin. Yeah,
especially with Jin's base damages and his levels give him so much damage. He doesn't always need the raw AD early. We have seen in the past Boots 4-pot start.
That's mental, yeah.
Because it's like, look, if as long as I can walk up and consistently hit my 4th shot, I'm happy. That's okay. We can work with that.
How many times can I yell the number 4 in this?
How many times we're gonna teach you this lesson, old man?
4.
4 times. 4 of them.
Oh no.
God. That's, yeah, I think going for a outside invade. Ambassador is on this side of the map. Level 6 is low. This is dangerous.
I don't know about this one. This is just going to die. Surely cease and desist will come on through. They're not going to bother us yet. Flash out from Hung. That one gets a bit ugly.
Yeah, your Q at first rank is something like a 20-second cooldown. Maybe slightly less than that. Maybe it's 20 to 16 or something like that. Harry now alone on bot side because Hung's had to bail out. Aki has level 6. This Ambassador is now very, very not happy.
Misses the public execution as well, so in comes the snips, the needlework, and a cease and desist will ensure that Ambessa eats the full force of Piltover Law.
Harry does not manage to get himself a taxi through Aki out of that play. Well played from Aki to just kind of cue not to hit the Ambassador, but to make sure that she doesn't have a safe way out.
Uber driver cancelled. That's a disaster.
We don't hang on. We're finding you another driver. Can't remember the actual message.
To death. It's car on it a ferry.
Well, what would you vote?
Remember to tip your ferryman, folks.
My problem with if Vi was going to be a taxi driver, be an Uber driver, she would talk way too much.
Can we get League of Legends Crazy Taxi?
I'm trying to think who would be the worst possible taxi driver.
Kled. Every day.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god. Arcane onlys are going to be so surprised when we talk about, like, so many different champions. Like, High Major Commodore Kled
Yeah.
That's definitely a legitimate title, by the way.
I
in the
want him
Noxian lottery.
animated. I think he genuinely would be. If we're getting a Noxian series.
No, actually, Blade Trinity in chat brings up a very good point. Lee Sin would be in a bit of trouble because he's driving blind.
Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. Lee Sin does quite well for considering with his lack of sight. I feel like he is every stereotype you ever associate with the blind monk. I think he has supernatural additional options here.
Yeah, it turns out Wuju leads to power that some may consider
Trust in the power of Wuju.
unnatural.
Yeah, we don't use it like Jesus
Sam?
take the wheel. It's just like Wuju take the wheel.
Did you just completely miss my Star Wars reference?
I did
there, Sam?
actually, yeah.
I said Wuju leads to powers that some may deem unnatural, Sam, and you interrupted me
I'm so
midway through it, Sam. You know, normally I judge our casting.
No,
synergy
that's super fair.
How quickly and easily we can put a Star Wars pun into
that's
the-
poor. That's
together.
not a good start. I agree.
Yeah.
No, you're right there. I failed you, Master Wayne.
Yeah, surprised to be short, but sadly not a welcome one. So fair to mistake.
Well recovered.
Right, okay, so we've of course had the objective trade earlier. That's the biggest thing which has happened so far. Haven't really got to the point yet where people are looking to just fully unload on those team fights. Really waiting for, well, normally it's 2 items, similar like the Corki and the Ambassador on one side. I think 1 item for NIP is where they start really popping. I think the Vi, Galio, Jin all very happy at that break point. So watch out for that 1 item and see how many fights they can find around now.
Was it that? We do see Shanji end up taking a little bit of a chunk there from Sejuani, but not at any huge disadvantage. Chunks come on through from Sejuani in the Big Brother jungle. No back away from that.
You know, I never watched Big Brother.
I think I ever watched like an episode.
Yeah. You know, also this is another thing, right? Because isn't Big Brother well, Big Brother's a fairly generic term, but the whole kind of like the Watchdog Big Brother thing, didn't that come from George Orwell?
It was 1984, yeah.
So did the show do that knowingly? Anyway,
Yeah,
Han's going to go for
yeah.
engage. Don't
Absolutely.
be peeled out by PP God there. There was actually an angle for Sejuani to look for an ult, but I think with the Alistair W stays his mid lane.
I know we got Grubs coming up, so we'll hold on the literary conversation, but do put a pin in that, because I've got some cool thoughts on that particular show and what it means relative to dystopian writing at the time. It's quite cool.
All right. Well, I think actually you can have that conversation because we've had 4 Grubs go down. NIP just made sure that the first one wasn't going over in the set to OMG. They get themselves the Might buff. OMG will weirdly... okay, so they really just want to save time right now. Dragon's already spawned. They just say, look, we'll take the 1 Grub, make sure that the 6 Grubs don't go over to NIP if they choose to do some macro shenanigans. Quickly dip in towards Grubs, go down towards the Dragon, and I'm wrong, Sam, sadly we do have to talk about that Dragon setup as well, because NIP... They want to start teleporting
musing,
in.
Alex.
I don't think NIP, I don't think they want to give over a dragon like this. Yeah, they want to contest.
Okay,
they don't want to give the 2 dragons early.
Curse, I've got to actually do my job, guys. Enough for hobbies and prior lives. We've got to watch PP God step and get handshook into the chains of corruption, but that is a wonderful use of the ultimate. Captain jacks it with an R button. You can take that. With an additional Moron gets hit by the deadly plug. We'll throw down a hostile takeover that's pretty poor. Blast go back in to the Galio ult.
Aki flashes over and takes down the Sejuani, but honestly, they took themselves down with that blast cone.
Oh, no. There's a quick coolest landing, but I'm dead as well. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm fumbling words because I am quite literally left speechless. There's going to be a replay, and I want you all in the comfort of your own homes to just start singing the Titanic theme because that was a ship sinking.
I don't know really what happened there. I think Hung just thought, look, the fight is happening. I need to make sure I'm there, and just does not consider the fact that the Galio is going to be slamming down after what. Prepare yourselves, folks. Brace yourselves. This is the start of the fight. PP God ults through, as you were saying, kind of Captain Jacks through the Varus and make sure that happens. Hung doesn't want to leave Starry alone. This is not how you help your team. Flies in to the full combo. Aki then flashes over and finishes him off because he has to, flash out of the play. Of course, the shots are very good from the Jhin afterwards, but realistically, that Sejuani gave themselves over for free.
Wow, I genuinely don't know what to say there. That was not fantastic. There is a single grub to be remains to be claimed there. There we go. So combined remains to be claimed into just remained, which is not accurate. Conjugation of the word relative to the sentence I was trying to say.
It's folks, we've been doing this for like 6 hours a day for the last 4 days, starting early, and Sam's been doing a bunch of Emir Masters and other stuff too. Turns out eventually You run
Even
out
the
of
best
words.
of us. Yeah.
Run out of words. Right, so we did say, hey, NIP, really looking pretty good on the one item spike. They have that now, and they just won before that came in, just before they came in. So now you're in struggle streets for OMG, because you look at this and think, that's a problem. I just want to highlight something very quickly as well, because this is the on-hit Varus, and importantly, went for Rageblade first, because I wonder whether this is going to be a heavier AP Varus, going for the Rageblade and then going towards maybe something a bit more magic damage after. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen AP Varus actually be useful in a build sense, but Starry has always been a bit of a chef, so just keep an eye on that, because normally you'd expect Blade first. Normally you'd see that. I get it's a less tanky team from NIP, but just keep an eye on that one. This could be a bit of a heavier AP Varus build with the full AD composition, trying to mitigate that.
And we saw some pretty cool things from some of our LDL call-ups just yesterday, right? Jachi had an obscene Kai'Sa game.
Yeah.
He is a Kai'Sa specialist, but as was, I know in the Reddit threads they were saying very similar things, and I concur. There is something about LDL AD carries and their ability to play Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
It's a requirement to be in that league, to be playing in the servers.
That's your
that get
interview.
You
turn up to the office, and there's a setup there, and it just says lock in Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
And that's all they say. That's all they say.
But Starry on the other side does play a bit of Kai'Sa, but he always was one of those more creative options, and you have got Linfeng, one of those other call-ups coming on through. Now he's going to have a Galio thrown on top of it. That combo is ridiculous. Cannot move for a solid 4 seconds.
Linfeng chooses not to flash. Could have flash W'd. Maybe just afraid of the Vi chased him under turret. I think actually Linfeng's W was cancelled by that Vi Q. Not a great mechanical play there from the mid laner of OMG. There is potentially a cross map, but it's a Gwen with level 11, a Riftmaker, no real options there. So all that thing really does is, does some Safari League of Legends, turns up bot lane, watches the wildlife, and doesn't really have much to do besides that.
First turret goes down topside, and I won't count that as a caster curse. I was about to say, look, Linfeng and Starry could be really cool for OMG coming up through their academy system. Linfeng in particular looked really exciting, and then he dies. I didn't get there though, guys. So it's not actually a caster curse. It was like a preemptive curse, an almost curse.
I think at that one, it's actually just that the game just subtly prodding you, say.
An omen.
It's an omen, yeah. What? I'm a big fan of the project. That's very good. That monosynth riff is very, very cool. I was gonna say, what would actually be the League of Legends equivalent of portending the omens being? You know, like the old Greek thing where they'd take the entrails of a bird or something and then figure out destiny from it. What would the League equivalent be?
Is it just draft? It's like, I've looked at the tea leaves, that is my draft, and God, this needs to go in the bin. I'm out of here, I'm dodging.
It doesn't quite feel occult enough, but at NIP, that's it.
I don't know, I've seen some of my teammates, there's something very weird going on with them.
But weirdly enough, back in 2023, when OMG had Shanji, Aki, PP God, and of course Cream and Enable as well, it kind of felt like they were kind of occult. It felt like they were just not normal. It kind of felt like each one of them was just praying to a different chaos god.
Yeah, look, there was a chatter in Onivia's chat when I was doing the Amir Masters stream, and they were predicting the LR game score based on an astrology thing.
Oh, that's
which
wonderful.
was wonderful. And I don't know whether they were being. I assume they were joking. But you just never know, do you?
No.
They could well have been absolutely dead serious, which would be great.
Herald and Dragon being traded apart as well. OMG, I think they have to just avoid NIP for the next while now, because it does just feel as though they're weaker in every single role until they hit towards 2 items, maybe, with this kind of gold deficit. Dragon goes over, they do get themselves their second one, but because they lost that third one, the second spawn earlier, not in the happiest position.
As the game gets on, if you can pull off those combos on the traps, they start to really hurt. The scalings on the captive audiences are actually really high, guys.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. If you, especially once you, because hang on. Oh yeah, because the Deadly Flourish is the Deadly. Yeah, but didn't they change the name of the Deadly and the captive audience? Captive audience is
the trap.
Is the trap now,
and Deadly Flourish is the W.
Even though really probably should be the other way around, and it was the other way around when he was in PvE, and they changed it for reasons unbeknownst to me. He has himself a fire cannon now because he already has that. Now the thing is, most of the people look at Jhin builds and say, well, fire cannon is where you drop your damage. Jhin has been doing so much goddamn damage recently, and I think if you're not hitting the Sejuani, the fire cannon, being able to walk up and we just saw against the Varus there, will just take random half your HP because of the early lethality and the early lead which this Jhin has. Very, very happy to say, look, I'll drop some damage for the consistency of being able to deal that damage with the fire cannon extended range.
Sucks a little bit more perhaps in a team fight where you are looking for big moments of burst, but in the laning moments when you're sat in mid lane just getting chunks, incremental stuff, it does feel better in those scenarios. It's less exciting perhaps, certainly less flashy right now, but can be really valuable when you're looking to take control of the mid lane.
Yeah, it helps to think of Rapid Fire Cannon as kind of like a mid-wave priority item, because you complete it around the point where, as we see here, you're fighting around mid lane priority, and Jhin can kind of get that first auto attack on the wave, or walk beyond the wave and get that first auto attack onto you, invade into the enemy jungle. As we see, you know, with the Herald, they have managed to use the Jhin and the Herald to chunk down mid lane, keep OMG back, and then go into the enemy jungle. This is the value you get.
Hang is off that bot side, so we'll keep our eyes on that, but I think it is just going to be the end of that play. As Linfeng steps onto Doomby, gets a decent chunk there with the Gatling gun, stepping on forwards with the home guard speed. Not really as dangerous it was earlier in the game. Not going to be forcing a flash right now. Although, hang on.
Yeah, well, there's a jungler in the bush there, and Doomby does have armor, but we'll see how much that really leads to. Starry maybe looking for something was angling for an ult, potentially. She's not seeing the bot lane. Another wave cleared out by Doomby. Feels like he's safe now. Look, he does have the Sunfire and Tabby. He's not easy to take down, but Hung's just been doing this a little bit. I'm just saying, look, I'm just gonna sit in that brush and wait to see if there is an angle. Does feel like it's a little low opportunity cost though.
Yeah, I think he also gets some crugs because obviously he had his red side jungle stolen, so I felt like he was going to have to return the favor at least a little. And I understand that thought process there as a jungler, because if you don't do anything there, if you go for a gank and fail, you're just down an additional, like, what, 12 to 15 CS and significant amounts of gold at this point in the game. Remember, jungle camps do give more gold as the game goes on.
We're just highlighting that. It's already a 1.3k gold lead in the jungle matchup, which is... now, part of that is because Hung decided to throw himself into a Vi Galio combo for reasons...
There was a lemming moment to it, yeah.
Which is, by the way, that's really sad, by the way. You know that famous video footage of the lemmings the lemmings jumping off a cliff? You know, that was actually just the photographers just throwing them off the cliff.
Yeah, I know.
We might see, do the lemmings go off the cliff again?
Yeah,
It's coming through.
Being thrown off it is what's happening. As Doomby comes on in, Moam is a dead Renata. Nice pick off in the jungle. Burned a few ults to do it. It's way before Drake's. They'll all be off cooldown, and then Aki can come over and try and force a steal on that blue buff, but the smite is secure enough from Hung to get that one. Now Doomby going to get some free time to shove in towards his bot side. Leave gets to do mid lane as well. And that mid tier 1 they started chunking out earlier. That pick off on the Renata now falls.
Yeah, NIP just so clean around just saying, look, we're just going to just hard pummel you in mid lane, look for entrances either side of mid lane, whether it's into the Raptors, whether it's into the Wolves and stuff like that. They find some camp steals, they find a kill, and OMG, they're not on the board yet in terms of kills. They have 2 dragons, but realistically, if you're getting dragons, you need to get 4 of them, because that soul gives you the combat stats maybe you drop in terms of gold, you trade for them. They're not going to get to that point. NIP are just completely shutting them out. It's been very clean approach to the map so far, and you know, this is starting where they left off from NIP. It was a strong split 1 for them. I think that they were very good at just kind of like cleanly making plays around the map on a macro sense. You know, only really drop that to the top teams. And OMG, sadly for them, that wasn't their specialty really. They weren't really the clean macro team. They were more scrappy, and now they're so far behind, those scraps are just very hard to find.
And it's starting to come down into a discrepancy of 2 items coming on through. So glad you pointed that out, because I was about to have that conversation as well. That is a Terminus second. This is looking a little bit like that Kerberos top build where he did Rage Play Terminus Jack show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did. Well, he did some strange stuff as well, where you just like stacked Haunting Guys and went for Terminus and Rage Blade or whatever it was.
Oh god.
Whereas this, look, I'm just going to stack percentage damage increase, and Varus's base damages will do deadly things. 2 items hit by Linfeng, which means that he does have something to play around, but he doesn't have any armor pen in items to get through the Galio as easily as he'd like to, so he needs to find a target, which wasn't that. Dragon started Aki in the back of the pit right now. Of course, he's a higher level Vi, so he can tank that up quite well. How does this fight arrange itself? Shanji, good angle to dive into the backline if the opportunity presents itself.
Light chunk there onto Starry. Deadly Flourish goes through from Leaf. Doesn't get as much value as I think he was hoping for there. But in goes Alistair. PP got flash for the 3-man pull. Galio comes in with a heroic entrance. Leaf's got a wonderful angle for the curtain call. Shanji, though, in danger as the turnaround does finally start to come on through for OMG. They get their first kill of the game. And what looked like a wonderful combo for NIP leads to a lot of low health bars, but no kills secured. And now the likes of this Ambessa can look to step on forwards, can't quite get anything more themselves. Control ward in the banana bush is giving them a lot of power, and a reset available for Linfeng will allow a Corki to come through with a lot of HP. PP God, no HP to work with, slowed down by the hail of arrows, just out of range of the handshake, but actually Moab now just dies to the Jhin. PP God still alive, Khan goes on forward, finally brings down the stakes. But the rest of the fight can continue. Leave gets the clan to run away, flashes on out from Harry. And Leave is leaving up to his namesake. He just runs away better.
Leave with a triple kill on the Jhin. Not the best entrance to the fight from NIP as they couldn't close the kills, but Leave makes sure it ends on a good note. Signs that one off with a flourish. This Jhin, like we saw it in playoffs, is absolutely phenomenal from the young AD carry of NIP.
He did 6.6k damage in a team fight with just a collector and a rapid fire cannon. He goes back home and buys a full infinity edge practically.
That's
unreal scene.
Yeah, you've heard of the one shot where you kill someone in one go. Get ready for the one shot where you go back and buy an item in one go, pretty much. 5-0-3, incredible team fight from Leave. You know, what happened in that last fight, I presume we're going to go see a replay of it, but when we get around to it, as the Atacon goes down, you can see that OMG managed to peel back away from the initial engage pretty well, and the initial target just doesn't end up getting focused down. And it's like, you know, the Jhin hitting the Sejuani instead of really hitting the important targets at the start of the fight. And we'll see that here. So, you know, you see this choke point, you know, everyone's kind of funneling in. It's not really multiple angles, and they can kind of peel back into that direction. It means that the actual carries OMG get to stand back a little bit, even with the needlework managing to get some work into it. Starry and Linfeng managed to get some good damage back. Then you start to get the problems coming through, because while your carries survive, they're now low HP, and Jhin is full HP with a lot of gold behind it. Normally you'd say, well, okay, they're still hitting into a tank. Yeah, but you don't have the armor stack just yet, so it's still quite dangerous. And Leave uses the movement speed and uses his more HP to just say, well, I mean, I can just tap you at that point. Linfeng goes in, comes back because he had to regen that HP with that teleport. But sadly, he misjudges his second entry into the fight. Flubs it. Doesn't quite get any damage onto that Jhin. Lee gets to just completely run away with it.
That was remarkable, and did sound like we were having some Apaches coming flying on through there as the Gatling gun sound was rolling the entire time. And the cavalry was absolutely flying on in. Baron now spawned. You've got withdrawals to work with, so NIP can really force this very hard. Hung forced away from the fight, does not have flash, could potentially get into the pit though! Oh my days, that came down to a flip. Hung can't quite secure it though. Baron for the side of NIP, and they're going real deep. As Galio comes flying on in with a hero's entrance, it's a good hostile takeover, but it is too little, it is far too late. Renata tries to bail herself out, but Starry's stars in his eyes quickly dim into the grey of death. Leave will pick up the wave here as well, and NIP running away with it now.
They get everything in this game. OMG have 2 kills total. NIP get themselves the Baron. They had themselves that Atacon to force the fight afterwards. Yeah, it did get down to a bit of a flip around the objective, but even if that hadn't worked out their way, they could have ran away with the fight anyway, and that's exactly what they did. They walk forwards, take themselves their first base turret of the game, and Inhibitor will fall shortly after that. And OMG, they haven't really had much of a contest this game. They've gone for 1 or 2 fights, and NIP have slapped them down, completely ran them through.
Yeah, they have. I half wondered that. Don't know if we're going to replay of that, but that was an absolute smite fight. Ken did get off. That smite went down about 10 HP if I counted correctly, so very close indeed. In goes 2MB, looking for an angle, but gets Handshake out of his Justice Punch. Khaled missed down for Gwen, but Chanji will be just fine, and they're just going to get the curtains called. Might well be that for the game as well. The bows begin to come on through. Now OMG may be forced to take them.
Yeah, you can see just the auto attacks to the Jhin there. Dealing damage to a tank, that's a problem. Normally, Jhin doesn't do tank damage, especially without a Lord Dominate's regards, but this has been the state of the Jhin for a while. Felt like sometime in spring playoffs, people were like, yeah, Jhin does damage for some reason. Let's keep playing that. Go back to the replay, though, as, yeah, it got to a bit of a contest. This was a flip. 48 HP. It was the early smite from the, I believe that was the early smite from Sejuani,
yeah,
who was 48 HP short. That's incredibly close, actually. Okay, but as we were saying just before that, even if they had gotten that smite, chances are they die in the fight afterwards. They would have drawn themselves into the play. They still lose 4 of them, so definitely still a winning play from NIP. All the same, NIP going forwards again.
Pull away on it. And the hostile takeover comes on through. Moam really found that many great hostile takeovers. The one in the fight that was close around the dragon, that's been it, I think, this game. But I think on the whole, OMG going to need to go back to the drawing board. I was going to talk about Starry's interesting build. He's gone towards the Zonya's third, what he was thinking about. But it's not really been about Starry. Hell, it's not really been about OMG. This has just been the NIP show pretty much from minute one.
Yeah, and the problem with the Zonyas versus the Vi Galio is that if you time the Vi Galio right, your Zonyas doesn't save you because the stasis doesn't last long enough to get you through the Vial and then also the Galio. So you get hit by one or both of them. Here comes the Vi, and here it go again.
From forced to back away way before that fight commences means that Ambessa left out to dry a little as the combo comes on through. The Chains of Corruption landed, but we said that the skill shot accuracy was going to have to be important. It was going to have to be well chosen. It doesn't feel like they've really been able to do that this game as Shanji now takes the moment to throw a few acupuncture sessions into OMG. And I think the only thing they're feeling right now, though, is pain. As Leave just one-tap someone. Fourth shot comes on through. Curtain calls are there. Linfeng just about caught with the fourth shot. They'll be on the fountain just about alive. Marble handshake Leave to at least get a kill onto that Jin. Frozen Heart or something equivalent. I think if you lock in Braum as well, this is a very bruisery frontline heavy team from Top Esports now.
It is. Not that much damage. And you are against a Maokai and a Leona.
I agree.
There's a lot of CC to keep the Leona and the Maokai in place. But unless Cream pings an ult onto the backline, and Jaculov gets some really good damage down, I do worry for the damage profile of Top Esports. Both teams going full AD, and yeah, one of them is a triple tank and the other one's into just the double tank, but I feel like, you know, if Jaculov randomly dies, I feel like Top Esports, they do fall apart. So some questions put towards Jaculov about their positioning. If you get caught by a good enough solar flare, things can go very, very poorly for them. FPX Top Esports, very different drafts from what we've seen in the LPL so far. Bit slower, a lot of tanks, slower game, potentially on the cards here.
Yeah, and of course you look over at FPX, and if it does get late enough, those triple AD carries will eventually just not care as much about the armor stacking, purely off the fact that you hit late enough and damage tends to outpace resist stacking post about 3-4 items. If you do get to that point, things start to change again in terms of the profiles. There's all our player cams looking pretty locked in here. Shout out to Shadow as well, was once back on what was Mad Lions, now Movistar Koi. Moved back over to the LPL and is starting again now as their jungler. Started that during playoffs, I think, for FPX, if I remember correctly. And looking to start properly here in Split 2. Fingers crossed that he gets a better showing of it. It's not had the easiest journey, has dearest Shadow.
No, he's been about the place. Came into FPX halfway through that last split to try and right the wrongs. So we'll get onto the Rift for our second game of the day, and I'm going to be paying particular attention to the Gyos of both these teams. Top Esports, as we said, testing the waters now, the LPL crowd, as they come back regionally. Interestingly, we got ourselves a level 1 instead, as the crowd was actually muted for this instead. We didn't get to hear the Gyos in the same way. The Braum going forwards, getting some passives down, getting some good damage onto Dway, but no summoners blown.
Braum at level 1, always a bit of a nightmare. I think we've had this conversation a few times, but I think for most people's money, Braum is the strongest level 1 champion in League of Legends. He is pretty damn ridiculous. His tanky, his passive is nuts, his Winter's Bite is horrifying. It sets up for your team to lock someone down. Do not pass go if you engage with the Braum at level 1 in the jungle. It's a bad time. 369. Gonna head into the bush. Oh, he's on that really weird Scion skin that I never remember the name of, but it's got a very silly splash art.
Wait, no, isn't this one the new
Oh,
Noxus
it's the new one?
No, this is the new Noxus one.
It's not the one I thought it was.
No, this is the whatever the Reckoner, the Grand Reckoning thing is for the It's for the Noxian like season, the Noxian split. You know, with the arena stuff coming through. So Sheer, of course, Sheer, very good individual laner from last year on JDG. Scion into Jace can be a bit difficult. It's not the Conqueror. First arrow of the game goes wide from the Poke Varus coming through for Jaculov.
Again, you've got the grasp on Sheer to try and mitigate that. It does feel like Jace has started having better options into those lanes where he used to just get outstatted by tanks a bit in terms of looking for those trades, as Dway actually stepping on forwards was looking for that Shield of Daybreak, but Crisp just taps him once of his own and says, I don't think you want to do that, mate, and backs away. Nice little look in there, doesn't lead to all that much. You see the observers zooming in. Claire and Cream trading out in the mid lane, and as the Yone, you tend to just get shoved in until you at least hit level 3. Arrow goes wide.
Observer's being so brutal to Jaculov here, missing out on his arrows early. Really wanting to highlight that. Someone was asking what the rune is on Sam. That's his passive of his Soul Furnace. So it's this weird one where we have an overlay here in the LPL where it shows if you have stacks on a champion, it replaces the rune slot, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Sometimes it can hide some important information there for just a casual viewer. But yeah, level 2 hit by these bot lanes now. Laning phase from top esports. Standard lanes typically work out very well for them. The failing of top esports at first stand really was about them not necessarily having a bad 2v2 from Jekyll and Crisp, although sometimes that was in question, but more about them just not playing with the minimap on. And teams just realized, look, if we just gank bot early, they don't pay attention to jungle pattern, we can keep track of them. Speaking of, like, Care might be actually at risk of that. Dodges out on the knockup, though.
Cream lands a little Spirit Cleave at the back end of it all, but Care holds on to Flash, holds on to Valkyrie even, really, just to get to fly his fluffy corky butt away to safety. That skin is wonderful, by the way. I just love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a whimsy to it that appeals.
It's great. I actually quite like the arcade Corki as well, though.
Yeah,
that has some very cool sound effects. I like that quite a lot.
I've actually got Ice Toboggan Corki.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. No, that's not the round one. The round was UFO Corki.
Ice Toboggan's supposed to be pretty rare as well, I think. But yes, UFO Corki also similarly very, very rare.
I don't remember if I also have that one. Anyway, it's just one of those ones which has just been around the place. But yeah, FPX, of course, coming in. Massive underdogs here, but they're not without their own power as well. Oh, 369's running grass, of course he is, because you don't always see that into the Jace because melee versus range can be a bit difficult. Cream has flash, might have to flash over the wall here though, needs to be a bit careful.
Combines his soul, looks for a trade. Here comes Kanavi, now Care in danger, tried to look for the flash, can't quite find it. Shadow uses the flashed Kanavi to Twisted advance out to safety.
Yeah, he could have used his flash if he really wanted to, but Kanavi, his Sejuani, not something I've always been a big fan of. I prefer him having a bit more damage, a bit more individual agency than the Sejuani. Because, you know, if you flash forward on something like a Pantheon like that, you feel a little bit better. Less so on the Sejuani. I have to keep track of that one. Early game for FPX, not going badly so far in terms of laning phase.
Yes, I agree. And shout out Care, the fact he didn't have to burn his flash. He's got the Valkyrie away for safety. Kanavi just shy on that flash for the Winter's... Is Winter's Flail? I always forget the full name of the flail.
Oh, I can't remember that one. Like, I can't remember that one. Sejuani's gone through so many metas, and I've never bothered to learn the ability name stem. I know Arctic Assault, I know Permafrost. It's not like Flail of the Frozen North or something.
I think it's Glacial Flail, something like that.
Then you've got Glacial Prison.
Yes,
so I don't know.
It's double Glacial. Maybe someone in chat remembers. I can Google it. But like, I'll use the power of Google.
Very good, Sam. Very good. Care jumping forward to the Valkyrie, getting some damage down with that one. Cream now tanking up the wave. There's another knockup from the UNAV. You don't necessarily want to be going into that minion wave. Care's early laning phase going quite well on the Corki so far. He has been a long-term Corki player. Care is such an interesting player to track because occasionally he's had some very good moments and sometimes he's had some very awful ones as well.
It's Winter's Wrath.
Right, okay. Nice.
So I kept saying, it's Winter's Flail, that feels wrong.
It uses a flail.
It uses a flail. That feels wrong. Winter's Wrath is the correct name. But 50% right is not actually right. 50,
no,
so
it's
you
not.
know, it's not even a passing grade in a lot of places. Disaster.
Teleport for 369 towards the top side, down a little bit of CS, but you kind of expect that versus the Jace. I mean, Sheer probably should just go towards the Black Cleaver first in this game, because and indeed he is going to do so. But to help out with that Corki and the Ezreal, Sheer, last year Sheer was actually my rookie of the year. This guy was so damn good on an individual level. Needs to be a little bit careful here. Kanavi doesn't have flash, so we won't be able to force that hard. Spots him out early enough. But Sheer, individual laning level, absolutely fantastic on JDG. And he showed that kind of secondary skill set very, very well as a rookie top laner, which can be very hard to do. 2 grubs taken by FPX, and they'll leave the third one and not want to contest that one. Makes sense. The Scion and the Sejuani can really lock you up in place very powerfully at that point.
Yeah, no real contest from top esports. They get one of the grubs, and that's kind of nice enough. It'll delay the full first 3 going over. If they can get towards that second set, can still get the might break point, which can feel pretty good. Cream and Care left towards this bot lane now. Left their native mid lane, the Shadow. Going to find a Braum in his jungle. We're going to try and fight over these Raptors now. The Permafrost Smite combo. Large skew by Kanavi. Now Asum and Jackie trading in mid lane. Asum steps forward to get hit by the hail of arrows. It's an extra auto back in trade.
He's himself level 5 now as well. Dre not able to help his jungler take that camp. And of course Kanavi getting close towards that level 6, which is very, very important. Sheer has his TES, you said, building towards that Black Cleaver, but doesn't have it yet. The armor pen not quite in place. Cream does have ult, potentially could go for a large combo, but instead just does that really annoying Yone thing where you can trade the under turret with impunity, basically. So one of the most broken things about Yone in pro play is that you're actually not safe to stand under turret and wave clear against him, because you can trade like a full combo onto you for just one tower shot. That brave minion shields the recall of Wraith.
A nice attempt there from Chris, but alas, minions were there to deny him, and I saw that miss with that Q there, Cream.
Okay, so top esports get themselves the dragon, get 1 grub, so they trade up a little bit in terms of the overall objective score, I suppose. Interesting else happening around here? No, it's been pretty quiet, and I suppose for top esports, this wasn't. This is where the danger area was for them at the first stand, which was. Their early games weren't quiet. Their early games were explosive in the wrong direction. They'd often get caught out in the bot lane to the 2-3 junglers. Mid laners would roam down there and punish them for playing heavily through a 2v2, but without respect for the map states. That hasn't happened here. So top esports happy to get out of that early game and not get pushed like that. But this is also a truth of the LPL, is that not many teams push them in the early game like that. Which does leave me questioning, well, what do they learn from games like this? And the answer has often been not that much.
That is a bit of a rough statement to say, but it's true, right? Sometimes you have to question what the learning curve is. You expect teams to actually show solid improvement. When it's quite a stagnant or a slow curve, you have to raise an eyebrow or two about what's going on that's kind of delaying that progress.
There are some teams, of course, which just have these fantastically dynamic early level 1 plans, which is why I'm interested to see from NIP later when they face up against top esports, whether they can cause some issues in that department. Kanavi, hang around on this top side of the map. Top lane's gone even in the matchup right now, which is really good for the Sam.
In this mid lane, though, Corky doing a pretty good job of getting a solid-ish CS leader here against Cream, who is a bit of a Yone specialist, right? But down 20 on CS. Part of that will be just the fact that Corky can be a bit of a bully in lane, especially early on. And part of that as well is just good laning from Karen. Cream not quite being able to keep up.
Yeah, Kare's Kare's a mercurial player. Had some fantastic games, had some awful ones. People remember his last spring when Milky had his debut split. A lot of people remember Kare having some of the worst Azir performances I can remember in that spring playoffs.
It's not great, yeah.
Saw them out of that. Jaculov, I was wondering if he's going to fire an ult back there, try and get the cleanse out. But also Kare's Ari has been fantastic in the past. He's had fantastic Corky and Yone performances himself in the past. He's been around for a little while now. Occasionally had those great games, as we said, but not really been able to match Cream's recent performances.
Say about Mercurial performance, we've probably said very similar things about a number of top esports players at times as well. In fact, someone like Cream as well, we've had so much hope from him. We started the Lactose Tolerance Club because of how much we love the guy. And sometimes it's just gone off. The lactose has become cheese, and it's not so tasty at that point when it's not been properly it's properly matured.
It's become molded in the wrong way. Shadow has a level advantage to this. He's going down. The Scion Q really helping farm him up. One goes down already. Top esports, so they want to fight. They have really good frontline positioning as it stands.
There we go. Throw out that Malk ultimate, but gets blocked up a little bit. Cream now looking for a bit of an engage. Lands a fate sealed for a huge amount of damage. Needs to pop back himself though. Burns most of his HP bars to get that down. 369 also very, very low. We said there might be a damage problem for top esports. Is giving Care a lot of license to step on forward, and FPX the grubs.
Yeah, so it's 3 for 3. Top esports will still get 2 out of that set, so we split that one evenly. But yeah, that is what we were worried about. The damage profile from top esports is very dependent on the Yone and the Varus doing a hell of a lot of work. And yes, it's a good ultimate from the Yone, but it does mean that he's left alone in a 1v3 in the backside. I was wondering whether Assume could even follow up for the kill, falling back to his Unbound Soul. Couldn't quite there, but the FPX, that's not a bad blueprint for a fight. Just make sure that the Maokai ult stops the Varus from being able to get himself into prime position. Somehow Jaculov did get hit by the Maokai ult here. Shadow with a good ult, of course. He came in midway through split 1 to come back to the LPL. Was on NIP before this. We'll see him playing against his own team before that. It's a good ult, but look at the value that Shadow gets from just breaking up the team fight and making sure that no one else can follow up on the Yone. Means that FPX largely walk away with a better health bars.
Nice little thundering blow there from Sheer as well to kind of force Cream off on a slightly awkward angle at the back end of it as well, and just good work. And the other thing is, at that point, Cream still doesn't have his first item complete. He's not actually that damaging it. That was Blade of the Ruin King too. You might see something a little different because you do things like you proc Blade of the Ruined King twice, if I remember correctly, because you get it on when you recall your E as well. There's a weird interaction with Blade on Yone that makes it really busted on him. I remember Freak talking about it years ago.
So the thing about Yone E is that it takes any damage that you've done and then obviously like mirrors it for your E.
Yes.
So if you deal damage with Blade, then yeah, it'll apply on the E when you re-tag it again. It doesn't like activate the item again, but the damage you've already done factors into the calculation of the E extended damage. So while it's not true to say it gets applied fully again, it's like, you know, so you'll notice this in Arena and stuff, right? If you buy like a load of active items and you have some which just increases percent damage, all of that also gets applied to your items rather than just being the stuff in your kit. It's not like your abilities do more damage, it's also your items as well. Dragon goes down to top esports. They have themselves 2 dragons, which is working towards it now. Assault points. Infernal Rift, top esports. They'll be very happy with that one. That could very much help them with their damage profile. Corki really rolling out here. Someone was asking in chat, is Corki always stronger than Yone, or is it just the early game? Well, that is a bit of a... It becomes a bit of a difficult question at points, but as you can see right here, Care doing very well at winning the individual matchup, even if Cream can potentially have much better team fight value if he lands multi-man skill shots.
And right now, Care reading the Yone very, very well, especially with teammates around to support him. Is picking his moments to go forwards really, really well. Hasn't been hit by too many of those Q3s either, which is often Yone's way of getting back onto the Corki. And extended trades, you tend to favour the Corki purely because Gatling gun and that range does give him a lot of value once Cream has that soul spirit timeout. You do then need to hit your Q3s, and right now Care has just been pretty good at spacing out of them, staying out of range.
Really important thing which has just happened, we have the Black Cleaver built up for Jace. Ult goes on to Care, and that's CC. Dead Corki.
Tries to flash on out and just pulls the soul back. Not enough. Jackie now in danger in mid lane, but still has the cleanse. Backs off.
Shadow tries to get something there. Cat, yeah. Not immune to Yone hitting him with CC. The Sudrani follows up. Navi gets kill participation there. And Cream gets to open up this side lane. There's no one left to answer this. This is a problem. That will be a full tower going down. And now suddenly Cream will get himself close enough to, what, 1,000 gold ahead with an extra wave, the extra kill, and the tower.
I apologise profusely to Care. That absolutely was a caster curse from me and Nymaera. You're probably eligible for caster curse for, funding.
Hey, I thought I described this pretty well. Yeah, Corki's good in the 1v1 until it gets to the point where where the Yone gets to hit big skill shots. Like, the Corki is fine in the 1v1 until there's a combo around.
Cast a premonition. There we go. Yeah. That's the correct choice.
I portended the omens. I was okay with that.
Yeah, he's like Cassandra, guys, right? No one believes it is truth until it comes to pass. Out there on the walls of Troy going, yo, guys, listen to me.
Maybe you should, what do you... I don't know. I was trying to make a Greek... I was gonna go to a Greek mythology thing. I was gonna ask
Eris and the Golden Apple? We're going that way?
I don't know. That's the problem,
that's
Sam.
Discord.
I was like, what?
It means everyone can come join our Discord, you see? This is where I'm going to go with this.
That's because Eris is the god
of Discord, yeah.
Chaos and Discord, yeah.
See?
Oh my god, imagine if Discord renamed itself to just
Eris
or Chaos one day if it looked fun.
Chaos!
It's like, you know how, I guess American Gods did it well. That book's got some connotations to it now, but, you know how, like, modern Percy Jackson's better one.
Yes.
Where, like, you've got, you know, modern depictions of old gods and stuff. Imagine if, you know, you've got, like, suddenly Jeff Bezos, son of Hermes or whatever, is one of the most powerful demigods in existence. Amazon, the delivery system, has changed everything. Okay, how's on table now? Slight gold advantage top esports. We do have that Black Cleaver going towards the Muramana first year, but he's not able to get that much over 369, whose Sion has been pretty fine in the 1v1. FPX don't really have a pressure point right now. They're slowly bleeding out on these side lanes after the Yone's gotten ahead now of Cap. Harold's going to get started up. What do FPX want to do? I guess they need to contest this. They don't want top esports to get a big map advantage off the Harold.
Shadow waiting for a good moment to pull the trigger. Nature's Grasp available. Do have Braum trying to block off angles. Kanavi here as well could now be in a spotted bother. Just getting dodge steals the Herald. Nicely done by Shadow. Cream needs to pop one out, taking a lot of damage, but they will kill the Leona at the back end of it. Cream can't get over the wall because he had his body blocked. Sheer flashes on in, goes to the skies. And Jackie Love is well and truly grounded, but for a second or two he might survive until Assume lands a Mystic shot. Well fought by FPX.
And top esports Now they're in a bit of trouble, aren't they? We said, hey, they might be in a bit of trouble if it gets to the point where FPX's damage just becomes so much easier to use than theirs, because they have a Yone that has one combo and they have a Varus that has a poke build. It's not that high DPS. They're going into a team which outranges them and has way more damage sources. If one of the damage sources from top esports slips up, it becomes so hard to team fight. Herald will jump into that tap, get a second slam. Inner turret now down to half HP. FPX immediately start to open up the map, get some good gold onto themselves. Ezreal picking up a kill. Sheer as well. Wait, was it Sheer actually getting both those kills? Whatever.
Sheer, I think, did, yeah.
You know what? We'll find it in the replay. Good mark out again. Terrain, really, really helpful here. If the mark out goes up towards here, you are stuck along this wall. It is a big problem. Cream doesn't get enough damage down, and that Yone out of position means that half of your damage is gone. The Sejuani, the San, and the Braum do not carry a team fight at this point through damage.
Sum gets 1, Sheer gets 2, and that's just rough to see. And that was pre things like the Muramana transformations. You've got triple tier drops.
Very
and they still win this without those second items, and it's a big deal. They can stop the dragon stacking as well, and FPX now in a fantastic position in this game. The moment those Muramanas transform, I think it's getting tricky again for top esports.
This is also one of those games again where I look at top esports and think, okay, on name tags on, what do I want to see their players on? 3-6 on a tank, that's fine. I think that Cream Jackalope Crisp, that's fine too. I want Kanavi to have more agency at this point. The Sejuani can't carry team fights like this. Yes, he can get a gank here and there, but his early game wasn't explosive, and I think largely Shadow has outvalued Kanavi with these markouts, has the Leandries as well, which gives him some extra damage to play through. Needs to be a bit careful now, doesn't have that flash, and then just as I said, that one actually is a caster curse. He's gonna die.
Yeah, he is. Goodbye, Shadow. Nice pick off, and top esports do have quite a lot of pounce and pick, assuming they're there as a group. A little harder in those team fights if they're not managing the full-on engage from FPX with the Maokai ult in particular. If you engage onto him like that, though, a little bit of a different story.
Absolutely. So FPX lose their jungler. Their Shadow didn't have that flash. Used it for the was it the Herald earlier?
He did.
Yeah. I'm trying to, like, I remember him flashing at various points. He flashed away from the grub fight before that too. But I can't remember the time on that because, folks, we've been doing this for a number of days now, 6 hours every day, and it's been
it's a lot.
A lot of games and a lot of replays meld into one at some point. Cream going towards top side, close to his shield bow, going back towards those side lanes. I think top beats have been playing the side lanes better. FPX playing the team fights better. So top beats will need to be afraid of that next team fight, but they might have better setup for it if they play through their side lanes well enough.
And Ending Despair just got completed by 369. Frozen Heart plus that, the Scion is going to start getting really obnoxious post a certain point here. The second item's beginning to get completed in general. You've just seen that one from Sheer. The Muramana transformation is in. Waiting on completion of that item for Care and Assume for the Manamune, which will then transform over. Transfer's the wrong term. And we are just kind of waiting to see what the next stage will be as Cream needs to ult away. Sway's around.
This is the
How aggressive do they want to play this?
Oh, we'll see. So goes wide. He has flash, has to use it.
Does indeed. Shadow now stepping on forwards. Nature's advances there, but now the turnaround! They've overplayed it. Sheer goes down, shutdown goes into the hands of Cream.
It's Cream that ends up out of overstepping at first, but after that, it's Sheer that stays too long. The marker out comes through, but it doesn't have the value. Top esports playing the map just a little bit better again. I was a little bit worried that we'd cursed again at first, because Cream was potentially going to die in that side lane, but top esports now have themselves a bit of breathing room on the map, which they didn't have before.
Exactly that, and well played by Cream to dodge as much of the skill shots as he did. Had to dodge a lot of the skill shots. Nice response from top esports to defend their top lane and get them a kill. It means they can get towards this mid tier 1, and they now go back towards a relatively notable gold lead. It's not a huge amount of 21 minutes, but it is there, and that's not a bad sign.
Well, now it's a map lead is the problem. Top esports have 1 tower down, FPX have 3 towers down. They've lost that entire outer ring, which makes it harder to approach objectives, makes it harder to play around side lanes where, you know, the Yone's coming into his own 1,000 gold lead, has that crit item as well now built up, and as we've seen so far in the top lane matchup, the Scion is holding the Jace particularly well right now, despite the fact that there is that Black Cleaver and Jace can be a bit of a tank killer in those side lanes. FPX need to get rid of some of these mistakes on the map. If they make mistakes like that again, top esports have been very willing to and able to pick up the pieces.
Yes. Yes, there are. Atacam is up and available, worth noting, and it is the Voracious version, so the GA version, exactly that.
Yeah, given how the slow it has been, makes a lot of sense.
Well, what was the word version that it was? The Rod of Ages version is what Atlas was calling Voracious, because it gives you levels.
Oh,
Not Voracious, Ruinous, sorry.
Yeah. It doesn't give you mana though. I don't know about that one. I kind of see the angle. It does give you the thing is it gives you so much random like stats. It gives you so many random like bonuses that I mean I kind of get it. I kind of see it.
But it undersells the actual standard buff, which is amping all your other objectives, which is quite cool.
Hey, look, I'm open for the discussion. It's an open forum, and it's you know pretty. You know, if you're going to relate them to an item, probably is the closest thing. Because Rod of Ages also gives you a lot of random stats.
I agree. No, I thought it was relatively astute. It's just like as ever, it's not the whole story. It's just a useful little hook for League of Legends fans to understand what this thing is.
One of the problems about League is that there's always infinite context things. So some good wards coming in from top esports. That controller's not going to spot out this ward, which Dwayne is currently stood right on top of, actually. Dragon spawning soon, Baron spawning a little later. Of course, it'd be soul point for top esports if they were to get that one. FPX, what's the plan? Do you want to trade out for an outer turret onto Jace, open up on the map a little more because your side lanes have been a bit more difficult? Dwayne does have a solar flag, only gets the shield from Jaculov though.
And out comes the long cats, courtesy of Shadow's Nature's Grasp. That's now the ultimate down. That's been such a big win for the other side as Care has to flash on over. 369 comes careening forward to the Onal into the decimating smash, and the jungler is dead before they can even look to contest onto the objective, and Care eats a big Q3 into piercing arrow trade between Cream and Jackie. This time the damage isn't chunked out before the fight by Top Esports, or from Top Esports, so they can turn back to the Dragon with the man advantage and get themselves to soul points.
And this is why I was kind of asking, well, okay, FX, do you want to trade this for a top lane turret or something? Because it didn't feel like they had the setup. Top Esports, by taking the 3 turrets beforehand, have given themselves a much easier entrance into objectives like this. Now there's going to be a teleport towards top side, and FX didn't trade out Dragon towards the top lane side lane advantage. It feels like they've come away with nothing.
They come away with less is the honest answer. They've lost their jungler, lost a lot of pressure on the map, and now down soul point as well. It's rough stuff. And Cream can look to go forward, lands a big chunk onto Care, into the Fate Sealed, could look for the full 100 to 0, not quite.
1 Q would have made it, 1 extra Q, misses that last one. Care lucky to make it out alive.
Gets away with it, doesn't have a flash to burn. And oh my days, Cream, someone who was having a bit of a rougher time into that Corki early on, still actually down 30 CS, is now struggling a lot more here. As Cream takes that opportunity to back away, get a hold of the Gromp, force that reset. We're building towards what looks to be an Infinity Edge third. It's not going towards anything like a Stride Breaker or something defensive. Well, he wants that damage.
Yeah, that crit cloak helps that all in, because of course the double crit chance really stings at a certain point. FPX, I think they're too far behind on the map now. I think that last play, they should have traded that Dragon for the top lane turret. They didn't have the positioning, and now suddenly plays start to get forced. Well, the top esports don't have to waste time on an objective. They're out on the map again, and FPX don't really have a great deal of answers.
It's time to start pressing into the enemy jungle as well and stealing away those camps. Release contestant. Chris eats a bit of damage there as Kanavi looks to smite contest. Believe that was secured there as well. Nice work.
They currently have 3 blue bucks, so yeah, one of them got it. Whoever it was, they got it. FPX, what do they do now? Serpent's Fang on Sheer, by the way, helps you with the Scion W shield. Also helps you with the Yone W shield as well when he starts throwing that at you.
Bow, yeah.
And the shield bow, so it does have some limited value. But I think this game really comes down to top esports need to make a big mistake around an objective now to really let this game fall away from them. Was it Crisp?
I think it might have been Crisp Q, yeah.
Crisp ends up getting it. Alright, okay, cool. FPX now needs to be afraid of the Baron being started up. The Poke Varus getting some value. The Varus lands onto the Leona.
They try and turn and burn. Takes a fair amount of time to go down. Glacier Fisher comes on through, and the Leona does get a final bit of an engage off at the end of it all, but will still die. Crisp and Kanavi, though, taking quite low doing it.
Cream's just solo kill Cat.
Oh my god, he has you right. And now they can look to go forwards because they've lost an 80 carry already. Shadow can't flash over the decimating smash. They're keeping playing to make sure Shadow dies. Blasco not quite dragging Sheer back into the fight. And Top Esports win on 2 sides of the map at once. The all-in attempt from Cream gets a kill on one side while Leona dies on the other.
Well, Cream cancels the teleport from the Corki as he tried to come into the play. He must have just pinged it with an ult or a Q3, and now this is the culmination of everything we were talking about around the last Dragon. FPX chose not to take map advantage by giving up the dragon. And it really has felt like the game's fallen apart now. Sheer, he's walking up, but Crisp and Cream should be able to chase this one down. I'm not really sure he can escape the donut power of the Krispy Kreme.
Tries to blast cone his way out. There's still a Q3. Needs to try and trade this one out and does so. Valiant effort for Sheer to chunk Cream out, but just nowhere near enough damage to turn that into a genuine threat on Cream's life.
The donut power reigns supreme. Krispy Kreme pick up a kill onto Sheer as he takes down that inner turret. But realistically, this game has been better map play from top Esports. It's exactly what we were seeing. The teleport from Care was cancelled out by Cream, who very obviously saw where he was teleporting from. Good solo kill from him. Was close at missing that last one. And then in the mid lane, this is what happened there. We already saw this. Teleport could have helped in that quarter. See the damage coming back onto Kanavi and Chris. The damage is there. It's just that their front line gets burned down and the Corki never revives.
Sheer wasn't really in position to get that much value either. Shadow tries to buy space, can't quite flash over the decimating smash, so even with something like a phase rush would not have been able to run away because you're CC'd and that prevents you from doing the moving thing.
Yeah, it tends to do that. Now you have now I think top Esports have got themselves everything they need. Assume does not have himself the items he needs. He's also going for the Shojin for extra mobility over something like a Cyrilda's third, which I wonder whether that's the wrong item at this point. Yes, I know it gives you good damage, but you need as much armor pen as possible to get through Kanavi, 369, Crisp. It feels so horrible trying to cut through this front line.
Relying on just Black Cleaver at this point, I think, is potentially quite risky. Each way, about half their HP just incidentally. Jackie Love beginning to really hurt as well at this point.
Well, 369's unkillable. It's absolutely unkillable. He's tanked up the whole team and he goes in again.
Oh my days, just going for full contact, saying, okay, you've engaged, time for me to return the favor. 369 kind of low at this point, but nowhere near actual death. Still has a soul fetish for at least another 500 HP. Spirit Cleaver, the soul and bound into a Fate Seal, does a lot of damage back. Sheer and Care doing their best to try and defend against the bulwark, this brawling call of top Esports. So they come out on top to TES. Dway goes on in with that Zenith Blade, but unfortunately falling straight off that precipice. A triple kill to Jackie Love, who does not quite get the Quadra with the Comet.
So close. Care lives, but he has to go back to base plate. He's regenning up, but realistically, what could he do against a 5-man top Esports? The answer is nothing.
Cream unbinds his soul one final time this game. It was pretty close in the early game. 369 goes into zombie form on the Phantom, but TES
heavy about front line, playing around lots of tanks and slower team fights. This one should be a bit faster pace. Lots of engage, lots of random follow-up damage. You can have an Aurora flying over a wall, Ari Vibe painting down onto targets, and then of course Misfortune and Varus following up from long range too. This should be a bit more scrappy. This should be a lot more skirmish heavy.
Definitely so, and I think those mid-game fights, as you're saying, are going to be so scary. In fact, the skirmish in general, those 2v2s, those 3v3s, Vyra Khan turning up with, say, an Ari somewhere can be very scary. The other side, Alistair popping out of a jungle with an Aurora's Shinzao. Yeah, I could see that getting pretty nasty, especially if vision control starts to drop for either team. Some pretty nasty ability to pounce on people if they're caught out in those transitions between lanes.
Fist bump on stage between the coaches as they walk off. Our third game of the day, almost halfway through, folks. Hang on a second, why are they using the old Ari splash art? That's the one which we reworked because we didn't like it. That is the wrong Ari splash art. Why is the Ari splash art wrong?
There's some weird eyes on that one.
It's the ears which are different too. Anyway, that's the wrong splash art.
How many ears does she have?
She has 2 because you don't have 4 ears. It doesn't make sense.
Do you
That's the
remember
wrong
old
Ari splash art.
Alex?
I do, Sam.
With
it
the
was
4
wrong.
ears?
And they changed it because it was
4
wrong.
ears?
They changed it because it was
they
wrong.
Not
They
to
changed
here,
it.
Alex.
They changed it because it was wrong. That's
seems to be
also the classic Ari splash, not the Dynasty one. So you're wrong anyway, Sam.
If I pull that hair back, am I going to see an additional pair of human ears?
No. Anyway, this is a better splash art.
What's wrong with 4 ears, Alex?
They were using the wrong Ari splash art. Anyway, let's get into goddamn game.
If you want to know how to tilt Alex, guys, this is it. It's going to be using the Immortal Legend skin as well.
Immortalized Legend.
Immortalized Legend, I apologize. I don't have this skin, so I don't know it as well as I could do as we head on to the Rift. Listen into the crowd chants, if they're unmuted. Unfortunately, they are muted. You just have to look at the crowd and listen to the mouthed gyos and pretend they're coming on through. In fact, here we go, Alex. FPX.
Jayo!
FPX!
Jayo!
FPX!
Jayo!
OMG!
Jayo!
OMG!
Jayo!
OMG!
Jayo!
There we go.
You have your own crowd chants here.
There you go.
Remember
You're welcome,
that
guys.
the LCK cast is doing that for T1 fighting?
Yeah.
when they had like no crowd for bits of COVID. That was cute. I enjoyed that. That was good. Good job, LCK casters.
They're an adorable bunch. I love the LCK crew. They're lovely humans.
Important things to know here, by the way. Ari's got this will disappear quickly, but the bone plating really important for laning phase. Secondary runes are important to judge these early matchups. Care is a notable RE1 trick, as we were saying. He is a good player of that. I was having a chat with Jackie's actually over in the LEC about his thoughts on secondary runes, prime runes for the RE. The big thing about going electrocute is that it unlocks ultimate hunter for you, and it means that you get a lot more damage from your runes from electrocute as well. Now your laning phase can be a little bit more difficult because you have to play on good damage on that, but you have to play on rune cooldowns like bone plating or stuff like the electrocute cooldown. But it's so good for your mid and late game when you can unlock higher damage items instead of going down for cooldown ones instead, so you don't have to go towards a horizon focus or whatever, which drops your damage quite considerably into mid and late game. So yeah, Cap going towards the bone plating gives him some good early lane pressure against the Aurora, as long as you can trade on the cooldown of your runes.
That would be pretty key, is Assume and Dway trying to get some shove in. If I get the barrier out of Starry to deal with a double up that would have taken him to a potentially dangerous level of HP. Level 2 earned by Assume and Dway, who honestly had a relatively good showing in their first game. There were some moments on that Ezreal where Assume was looking pretty scary, couldn't convert it into a win. And the mid and late game fell away from them pretty hard, but we saw some decent stuff out of FPX and crew versus top esports until the map started to fall away from them. OMG, on the other hand, kind of got rolled a little by NIP. A bit ugly as that game went on, looking for a better showing here. Linfong actually got a decent shove here into the RE, did not have bone plating there as the weirding came on through, so just ate the full magical shotgun blast.
Yeah, I mean, the Aurora does have better wave clear early on with the Q kind of return, being able to trade very well through things, whereas Ari really wants to play around that kind of W level one. Of course, when you get later into the game, Ari has slightly longer range with the max range Q than the Aurora, but once you go in towards like your charm range and your W range, then the Aurora gets some good trades against you. The Aurora's not bad trading at individually against the Ari.
Yeah, can be pretty good at that one. Is Sheer not going to get pulled back by the Infernal Chains. Harry finds a good moment there to be pushed aside just a little, and not too much out of this early game as yet. Clears are now just about completed, and Shadow will retreat back towards the top side of the map to get the other Scuttle Crab, because Xin Zhao is on the bot side one, and with priority achieved by OMG, they are the ones who have a better option at getting a hold of it. Sheer, though, takes an opportunity to hop forward and get a decent chunk.
There's a question chat. Are you a Game of Thrones fan? Your name is after a famous wolf from there. No, it's not. That's Nymaera. That's different. It's spelled different. If you know what my name is from, you can try and have a guess, and I'll tell you whether it's right. I won't tell you what it is if you get it wrong, though. It's not from Game of Thrones. I'll tell you that much.
It has been suggested before. And there was a point where you had blonde hair, but there was a certain Sarah's element.
Out. That's a charm into it as well. Good damage. Very good damage.
Boy, they get the kill as well. Care gonna get jumped on. Does at least get turned around with a flash audacious charge. But the damage in many ways already done.
Well, I mean, both mid laners are now going to teleport to the plate. So actually, in terms of saying the damage is already done, the kill goes into the Vi, the return kill goes to the Shinzo. So it actually evens up pretty well. On second thought, I think actually hung right call to go towards that.
The only thing, of course, is the additional flash pop. Linfong down both of those summoners, whereas the Ari does keep her flash.
Yeah, that is important. That is important. That's a good thing there. But still, I think you have to return that killer. You have to. Care and Linfong both going to get their backs in at this point. Not a great W from Linfong. Potentially thought he could W over the wall, but wasn't kind of sat flush with it, so can't get over with it. Good turnaround at least. Both junglers walking away with something from it.
They do. And important, as you said, Terran who had a interesting game one, I think, for OMG. There was that really unfortunate Sejuani blast cone that I think sticks in a few people's minds. Looking a little bit more proactive here, at least in this game versus FPX.
Yeah. So, we did say this game is going to be very skirmish heavy. Getting kills onto your junglers early definitely help with that because they'll be leading the charge. If they get towards a slightly earlier Sundered Sky or towards a Black Cleaver to help out their teammates, that can be very, very impactful because not very high tank level in this game.
No.
You have some drain tank from the likes of the Aatrox or even the Shinzao to an extent because it's passive, but really is going to be about those junglers leading the charge, getting their junglers, getting their mid laners and top laners into the play with that CC and that tip of the spear.
Dragon spawned, FPX in position, but we've seen some roams up from OMG. Grubs also spawned. We're going to see a trade or a contest over one or the other. With the supports here, it does look like it might just be a trade. Shinzao heading towards those Grubs. TP back in from Harry, who will have picked up a tunneler there versus Shear's Steel Caps. Shadow going to start up the honey fruit there to give himself a bit of HP to work with on the ground. Soon picking up some of that mana to help throw out some of the abilities. MF's ability cost can be a little bit prohibitive in terms of ability to get DPS out. It does tend to burn through the mana if she's pumping out a lot of double ups and make it rains.
Yeah, it's why she goes for Essence. Well, she used to go for Essence Reaver quite a lot. Nowadays, because of the interaction between Bloodthirster shield and her W, you have to break the Bloodthirster shield to take off her W because it only counts. She gets that buff while she's technically out of combat before she takes damage. That gives her just so many extra stats to go with. And then Infinity Urge is such a good spike, you kind of need both those items instead. But still, yes, absolutely worth talking about those mana costs. One of the reasons why Essence Reaver was so important before.
Wasn't you still sometimes see Bloodthirster Essence Reaver if you feel like the game's been a bit slower and you're more interested in just playing out lane shove than you are necessarily about the raw damage of, say, a big Bloodthirster Infedge ultimate. Here's the Infernal Chains. Sheer gets dragged back. Not too much further duress though. Hang though, looking for potential invade here. Where's the rest of the squad?
Level 6. Shinzao does win this at the level 6 mark, actually. Shinzao's early game is really, really nasty. Unless Fire gets a really good drop and gets through to a second Q cooldown, Smite comes through onto Hung.
Gets that red buff steal. Nicely played. Understandably, Shadow doesn't want to go for the full trade and just has to deal with the fact it was always going to be a bit of a flip. Loses it this time around. Down that buff.
Yeah, and, you know, before going into this game, I was saying, well, you know, a bit hard to tell where the good matchups are going to be because, you know, in my opinion, the top side of FPX probably a little better than OMG's on current form, and the bot side of OMG probably a little better than FPX is on current form as well. Bot lane's been whatever. I mean, the matchup means it's fairly uninteractive with the Alistar until it gets through into team fights, and the poke barracks is just kind of farming up as it can. But, you know, the top side of OMG picked themselves some early power spiking champions. They're using them well currently. We have ourselves a very even game, and maybe we can reassess current form for these sides of the map as we get into it.
It's also worth noting, of course, that the two teams they faced first were the two best teams in the group on paper in NIP and Top Esports. So we not necessarily see them at their best because they were going up against some pretty scary opposition there. The gold, and in this game at least, remains dead even. It's not been a very high action game. A killer piece, a trade of objectives, and a red buff still really is all we've got to speak about.
Yes, so we're waiting for that first explosive fight of the game, really. When it comes through to that, we said, okay, very skirmish heavy, lots of damage, not that much tank. That does make it more important that we have stuff like Dark Seal in the inventory of Aurora. Pay attention to that. Care did not get that on the first back, instead going for the Mana Crystal instead. In a lane like this, it does feel nice to get that early first Lost Chapter because that extra cooldown reduction and the Mana Sustain means that you can farm kind of more consistently with Q, because Aurora can cause some problems. Care looking for a charm here potentially. We're holding on to it a little longer. Looking for that charm though. Just land that. Potentially force Lunfeng to recall in a bit of an awkward spot. But how's that teleport anyway? Was already looking for the recall. Nothing really to be gained by Cat. Pushes in the wave.
And does get that wave done. Not too much to say about that. And the lanes in general have been pretty matched. We're seeing, what, 5 CS discrepancies max, really. It's all much of a muchness right now, guys. It is 100 gold lead total over to FPX.
Wow.
Clearly game breaking.
I assume it's currently alone bot side. There is an Alistar with ult. He might go for a flash pull of headbutt under the turret. Is he going to go for it? Flash pull of headbutt back.
Nice combo as well, Red. Sway now here, gets the grand entrance, try and put a knockdown in. Quickness, and then the battle dance with the flash out. Summoners burned by FPX's bot lane, but they do go out alive.
Yeah, Moham doesn't actually get that much value, sadly, out of the headbutt. Gets it into the wall, so he doesn't get the full distance on it. Assume able to get out with the flash and the cleanse at that point. And we are left still with a 1 kill apiece game. Ari's completed the Malignance as that first back, choosing to go towards the first item completion power spike. See if whether Care can make himself a big play. As I said before, Care for me was a top 5 Ahri in the world last year on the individual Ahri characters. And I say that as an Ahri main, folks. I have millions of points in the champion, so if anyone has any kind of like right to talk about it,
Probably is you. Yeah, you gotta be out there.
It's me. So see whether he can actually combo up to do something though, because the other side of the Care coin is, okay, he has a lot of bad individual games. He is a mercurial player. He's streaky. Let's see if we roll heads or tails here. 9 of them.
9 of them, theoretically. 3, 6, 9 tails. Why have you not got an alt account called that, Alex?
Oh wait, which one?
3, 6, 9 tails.
That's a great idea. Oh my god, that's fantastic. That's my next account. That's my next account. Moam, caught out, doesn't have the flash now, does have ult.
Someone in this chat's gonna steal it now, just saying. I know what they're like. Here's Moam. Brings a cowbell. It's got trample proc, but Grub started up by OMG. They get the 4th, so already at a decent point now. Do FPX still want to play this? Shadow coming on in. On to Star TP behind now from Sheer, who's got mega charged as well. Here we go, but it's too little too late. They've lost the fight. Maybe the damage after will be fine, though. It looks pretty good from here. Moam does not have the ult rolling. Care with the double. Still got no charge to work with. And Assume has donated it. Shadows trades his life for a monster flank from Sheer.
Yeah, Shadows engage. Actually not that good. Too far away from Care to follow up, but it does start the fight all the same. And Sheer with a monster Mega Gnar pull just absolutely pops off. What did we say about this game? Not that much tank, but everyone has a lot of damage to bring to the table. And Sheer is the first person to really strike home. Care gets a million resets. Is very happy now with the extra gold in pocket. He'll be really kind of annoyed though that he doesn't have a Dark Seal to actually snowball off of that with. God damn it, this Ahri main should know better. Shadow gets you absolutely monstered at first, and I thought that would be a big problem because the Vi doesn't get good value, but it goes straight into a Mega Gnar and Sheer. Spares the blushes really of what happens there. By the way, this kill feed up at the top here, that is special to Faker's Ahri skin, this little thing at the top. So you see this special extra banner come across with Faker's Ahri skin. Cap, really good Q sweet spot there to finish off Moam. As Dragon gets taken down here by OMG.
Sacking a little bit on an individual level there, though. Of course, the Ahri down about 20 CS because of the waves drop to make some of those plays happen. Still, 2, 1, and 3, up a fair amount of gold in a decent spot. Dragon was traded back, though, by OMG, so end up getting more of the objectives in general. There's still actually a single grub up, but the kills went the way of FPX, and they have now got a solid gold lead. Spread apart across this team, but some of those objectives not as easy. Oh, wonderful option from Care. Starry now surely dead, but the Chains of Corruption land flashes away. Face check the Ahri and really gets punished for it.
So, good plays coming through from FPX. Carry going forward, Sheer flashing away.
Flash for flash, 3 seconds on the ult for Harry. Because Starry had to reset, gives a lot of time for FPX to claim a plate or 2 bot. We do get that.
You know what? I mean, I'm just going to revisit this again. Care currently at 2, 1, and 3. Great team fight on that top side. Care, yeah, he had a bad Corki game. He does have really good games too, and in particularly his Ahri, as an Ahri main before he went into pro, is one of the champions he can find comfort on. Every so often, Care finds this one comfort champion, which he gets a lot of value out of. In the past, it was Azir. In the past, it was Ahri. It was a couple of these picks. Tristana, great pick from too. Back last year in summer, one of the ways that FPX looked a little better in that summer split, and sadly, the poor last grub not going to be taken up. It takes too much time to kill, folks. The first one gives you the double XP. Going to be left alone, so it's 4-1. FPX just wanted to deny the 6 grubs from OG, and indeed they have done. Will be despawning a little while.
No one's going to go and take it, although I will say Shadow is strictly around. There's just so many wards here, making it quite tricky, and I think when you are edging towards things like Antakan in 5 minutes or so, you can see wards starting to come up to play around topside pressure that would have been for that grub fight that we did
for the
see.
Charm, here he goes. W misused from Linfong a little bit. Charm
well
has been held onto.
And Linfong now in danger, still gets a really good angle. Another ult charge available. Can't quite get the damage though. Malignance gives you a lot of mobility to pull the trigger on the ult. All that
needs to teleport. Needs to teleport. Can Carry get himself the cancel? He's going forwards, and no, he can't. So Linfong trades ult for ult with Care. Decent damage calculation from Care there, but doesn't quite have the follow-up afterwards.
And then all the while, Linfong has to reset, then teleport back towards top side. There's a bullet time in mid, though. Hangers around. Looks to turn this in as the quickness does work. Shadow will likely fall here as a result, though. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 AD carry for jungler. Objective to really abuse that lack of smite, though. Harry going to try and pull back Asumba, who is fast enough with the strut to just walk out of the Infernal Chains.
Yeah, so FPX take a pick around the Vi again, but this time they don't have a Mega Gnar, and they don't have the Ahri, who's had to teleport out of bot lane, and they don't have the resets there. So a little bit of a misjudgment there in the mid lane from FPX. It leads to a 1-for-1 and not a clean fight.
Strictly got a teleport advantage right now because Sheer hasn't TP'd, whereas both Harry and Linfeng have. Gonna walk down towards this bot lane, with the executions calling also picked up. Can be pretty valuable into things like that Gnar. Not that Gnar, into that Aatrox, because he has quite a lot of sustain inbuilt into that Darkin Blade.
Also think in this part of the game too, very useful into the Sundered Sky, kind of switching around from the Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao's been getting a lot of good value in the early game so far. Jue hunted back. He needs an E target. That's going to be a Vi getting into range of it. Jue is going to wait around for a second. W cooldown. It's maxed out. Well, not maxed out quite, but close enough to it. Oh, wait, no, because you get the Q 3 points early. Anyway, his cooldown's going to be fine for this point. They don't go follow up for the full kill.
They do not. And Sheer back in Mega. He's now genuinely quite threatening on this Gnar. Got such a good value out of that team fight. Is a real side lane threat. You've got the Shoji on Harry at least, which can be valuable himself. It's not gone for the Sundered Sky, which we often see on the Aatrox as well. Gone more for that cooldown, the ability to get through rotations a bit faster.
He's going to jump onto a team. No flash, pushed up way too far in mid lane. Going to get jumped on in the Xin Zhao early game. Really being capitalized on well by Hung.
Using that Cloud Rift move speed to get into the bush and just flash Audacious Charge. Good timing from the jungler of OMG.
Yeah, I really think this jungle matchup has been going in the favor of OMG. Shadow misjudging some engages. The Xin Zhao really utilizing this early power well. Care a level down on Linfeng now, as he's dropped a wave or two about the place. Herald started up as Shadow not in position. They don't have their AD carry. That means they don't want to take the fight.
Do not. Looking for potential engage though. Hang on, remember, has no flash. Has to be a little bit wary here himself. FPX looking to come and contest this. Assume will come over as fast as they can. Teleport comes on in. Will be Mega Gnar timing as well. So Sheer theoretically pretty scary, but had it interrupted by Harry. Charm onto Linfeng, but Sheer's not going to be around. Burned his flash as well. Herald goes the way of OMG. Parasol lands onto Shadow, gets knocked up, and will be going down into an early grave. Care stunned up with a trample. Audacious Charge with the 3 talents right will now get to ult, but the Crescent Guard means the turnaround damage onto Heng not that excessive.
Yeah, so just flows the ults of Care that for not much else. Heng having a really good Xin Zhao game. Starry makes his presence known, and FPX didn't really set up for that objective very well. They lost their AD carry in the setup. Herald now goes into mid lane. It's going to lead to the full tower. No, not without a wave. FPX lose the fight, and they lose a chunk off the mid lane turret.
We lose a Dragon out here as well, as the resets have to come on through. Care has no TP, and we'll hopefully see in a replay, Harry did a really good job of interrupting Sheer's TP there.
Yeah, very, very importantly so. We knew how important that Mega Gnar was the last time, and he just goes too soon. He looks for the timing in the play top side, but just doesn't see what's happening in the bot side at the same time. Really good cancel, as you highlighted there. Charm landed okay. The Q comes in for a steal attempt from Shadow, ends up leaving him in the lurch, doesn't flash out of the Varus ultimate, and sadly dies. Hung, as we were saying, really winning the jungle matchup so far. Back into live. What's happening now? Dragons available, might see another objective setup. It would be 2 dragons for the team to take it.
It would. First items largely completed here. Assume has gone towards the Essence Reaver, by the way, on the Misfortune. It has that second item completed as well on the MF. The Reaver Queen herself will be looking to help clear out this mid lane wave. And again, I suppose when you're playing around the Ahri and the Gnar in the side lanes, more mana to be able to spam through those abilities in the mid lane would have been valid for trying to hold onto that turret, but has to back away, doesn't feel safe enough to walk up and contest it. So mid-tier 1 falls for OMG. Sheer's around here. There was a bit of a knock-up going down onto Shadow. OMG here in force.
Yeah, Care could teleport in, but is he going to be there in time if a fight is really pushed in? OMG choose not to ask that question. Care gets himself that side lane turret. Harry spotted out now as he moves between the bushes. OMG, for once actually, for them as a team, choosing discretion as the better part of Valor. Shadow maybe looking for a player on the side here, or just keeping eyes on OMG to make sure that they kind of held to account as Care pushes in, maybe for an inner turret now on top side.
It's a big chunk. It's a teleport from that close to try and hold this in. Well, it felt like they were forced to do so, or that turret would have gone. Nice work from Care, honestly.
I mean, I have to say, denying 700 gold away from an Ahri who could be a major carry in this game, yeah, I see the angle. Yeah, it sucks losing that teleport, but you have another one on Harry, so as long as Linfeng is at the place he needs to be, denying the 700 gold away from Care could be very potent. He's got himself that Dark Zone inventory now. We'll see if he gets many stacks on that one. Care building towards a Shadow Flame second makes a lot of sense as the sole magic damage source in this game as the Ahri on his team. Linfeng on the other side looking for a similar build, going for the Ludens into that Shadow Flame. Second item for these mid laners could be absolutely destructive, so really keep an eye out for that second item for those mid laners to see how they can go for those one-shots.
Sheer here just not attacking the turret until way later to deny as much of this wave as you can. It's up a lot on the Gnar right now. Ahri got to walk back to lane on the other side, prevent Linfeng from taking that top tier one, so FPX playing well around those turrets. Way gets interrupted on the grand entrance. Flashes over the wall to stay alive, but rough moment from him. TP behind. That's Sheer in here, looking to get towards Omega. Starry in danger, throws the barrier, looking for a mega angle. The damage onto the Varus is huge. Don't even need to use the mega. Shadow will likely fall here, though, as the rest of OMG collapse. Moham with the ult popping, gets a knock up onto Sheer, does that. Shinzao throws out the Crescent Guard. The bullet time not going to be the best angle. Assume now in danger, gets hit by Dark Blade Part 1 and Part 2 flashes out as Harry comes across on the Aatrox. Lots of summoners burned across the board.
Yeah, you can see that Care holding on to his ultimate in that play, being very, very patient. Was wondering whether he could pull that trigger, but the Shinzao, big threat, especially when he has the flash available in that kind of fight. Ends up being quite scrappy again, and you know, both these teams are third and fourth place, placed their teams from their groups in last split. They are third and fourth seeded teams coming into this split. But it's not like they're without their skirmishing potential. Starry, really well shut down by Shadow, who just says, right, you've used your flash, you don't have your spell shield anymore. It's a better entrance from him than he's had in a lot of this game. Problem is he's still in the lurch after that point. He goes down in the 1-for-1, and without that smite, you can't really stick around for someone like an Aftercan afterwards. You can see, again, really how tentatively these teams are going. They're not full sending it, so they're aware how dangerous the turnaround might be.
And then Harry comes on in, and you're thinking, oh boy, Assume's potentially in danger here. Had to flash out to get out to safety. It ends up being a few flashes in general burn, but I'll note, in particular, both AD carries losing theirs could be pretty scary. In fact, the only flash available for FPX right now is on Care. We've got one on the Alistair, which is pretty huge, and on the Aatrox as well. Big for those Q3 flashes, as you see in a lot of team fights in the mid-game. With the Sundered Sky now complete as well, this Aatrox kind of online for all of Sheer's pressure in the lanes.
Yeah, this Aatrox is ready to start popping off. Well, I say that. He is 1,000 gold down in the individual matchup. I don't pay attention too much to the individual gold there. Harry's still in position where with 2 items and potentially maybe going towards a Sterax third, I'll say, would be quite important for him. Could be in a real position where he could have a big pop-off team fight. I love these kind of games because, you know, he said, hey, individual form for a lot of the players on the Rift here can be quite streaky, can be hot and cold. This is the kind of game where pretty much everyone can win a team fight for their team. It's not like, oh, well, you know, this Braum's just got to put up a shield here and blah, blah, blah. Everyone can be the damage source. Everyone can be that key player in these moments. Aftercan up and available. Dragon spawning at the similar time to Baron on the other side of the map as well. It feels like a storm's approaching. Let's see which team's really going to get the best out of the coming fight.
I was on a bit of a question in chat as well. I was like, is Lethality MF really that unplayable? Because obviously solo queues, still a lot of Ghostblade builders on the champion. I think honest answer is it's just a bit more volatile. The Bloodthirster allows a lot more safety, and it's a bit more flexible in terms of your build, because you can go to the Essence Reaver, you can go to the Inth Edge, and that is often quite valuable for the MF, even if the Lethality ult hit like a truck and could be really nasty in lane in terms of the build path. Just hasn't been quite as consistent here at the pro level, so people have done that. The other thing is pros are sometimes quite stubborn. They like their builds, they don't change them up that regularly at the top level either. Oh, interesting as well, it wasn't Shadow Flame on the Roar, it was Storm Surge.
Which, little surprising for me. The move speed can be quite helpful in these kind of games, which it gives you over the Shadow Flame, but gotta say, normally your W's are enough for that one. It's going to be less opposition popped onto Mohan there. Dragon spawning in 40, Dragon and Baron in 30 seconds. Again, just looking for those inroads. Good vision control on bot side of the map from FPX. It would be soul point for them on Cloud Rift, and in a game which is very back and forth, quite close in terms of the actual individual teamfight plays, Cloud Soul could be really, really important for the likes of Vi and Ahri to work their way onto the targets they need to.
30 seconds until that dragon spawns. Setup largely favouring FPX right now. Misfortune caught under this tier 2 rather in mid lane. Not really there though, so we'd have to find a way over. Sheer also feeling pretty happy to split push up towards that top side and saying, look, this will only be second dragon. If we can drag you across the map here, it could be quite tricky for you, Shadow. Signal an angle there. Sees Linfeng go across the Veil.
Yeah, and Linfeng immediately has to pop that W in case Vi were to just kind of pop ult them. He didn't have exact knowledge of where Ari was, and Ari wasn't too far behind that fight. A little bit slow on the setup again, focused a lot on the vision control. OMG's managed to claim a lot of that back on the bot side. Oh, it's a little bit low action, but you can see where the kind of pouncing could potentially come in. Hun going around this corner here, potentially could look for something. Maybe force a flash and out of Ari going the long way around. Can needs to be a little careful here.
Charm ults across.
Nice. Yeah, that's about as good a disengage as you can hope for from Care. Problem is now you don't have your ult for the dragon. So, traded for topside pressure. FPX lose that pressure there. Shadow could go for an ult.
Ooh. Flash gets the flash, and they'll still send that cease and desist after the healing. Good, but not enough.
Teleport coming through from Aurora. How much can you get the turnaround here? Anyone else? Care's coming in too, though.
Linfeng has to immediately go between worlds to stay safe, and Sheer nearly at the Mega. Can't get more. They lose the tier 2 anyway. Not a great TP from Linfeng there. I'm not going to lie to you all.
Well, he could have ended up getting that kill onto Sheer. If he hits that Q as well as the E, could have been a kill. But yeah, a little bit too little, a little bit too late. Even with the flash Q not connecting from the Vi, they had enough damage there. So, Dragon also not taken on the other side of the map. I would have thought OMG could have cross-mapped there. Not to be the case.
Trying to play on that side of the map, and actually now with Very dead, can start to get some resets through, and maybe now FPX can go back and start up that Dragon.
Hi, Angie. See you in chat. And of course, if you are... Look, in games like this, folks, I'm just going to start paying attention to chat more. Because, look, we see a lot of setup. We've told you what this is about. It's about bursty picks, it's about playing for round vision control, and eventually someone's going to get blown up. In this case, it's Harry as everyone pulls the trigger there. And, yeah, that's going to be a lot of this game from either side. Someone just randomly gets caught out. Sadly, Care could not be finished off by OMG as he had a pretty decent angle towards him there. Dragon, we did say that was up and available. FX will get themselves soul point.
On to the Dragon they go. And they pick that one up quite happily.
Alright, Dragon goes down. Any setup on the other side of the map? No. OMG don't really feel like getting force plays that well. That kind of sucks. I think we're also getting to a point now where the Shinzao gets lesser value. In this kind of game, Shinzao can still be a very good burst factor, but it's not as consistent at going towards the champions they need to. Care's going towards Banshees, weirdly. I'd say weirdly. It's good versus the Aurora in the individual side lane.
He's going corruption, theoretically, as well.
Yeah, but realistically, you just throw an E out and that spell shield goes. And Ari doesn't really play from a range where you can kind of protect that more. I think it's actually more about the stats rather than the actual active itself.
By the way, that's the defense. You've already got your burst pairing with the Malignant Shadow Flame, so I think a defensive item might just stick on the Verdant Barrier, honestly. I could see that being an option too.
But then when you go towards the full item, you do get a lot of stats out of Banshees. Banshees is a good full item, actually. It still gives you 100 AP.
True.
You know, Shadow Flame gives you 100 AP, Banshees gives you that. I mean, the problem with going for a build like this is that you eventually want to go towards a Void Staff, because even a little bit of MR on the other side kind of becomes a bit of a problem. And, you know, what happens if Aatrox then, once you're on four items, has like a tiny bit of MR, that kind of becomes a problem. Particularly even for Aatrox, getting a bit of magic resist is okay versus the Gnar, because he has Hyper, which is magic damage, which is percent HP damage, and Wit's End definitely a little bit in there too. And then at that point for Ari, like, oh, I'd love to go for a Death Cap to amp up all this AP I bought. Ah, I need a Void Staff too. Damn, I would have loved them both, third and fourth. Death Cap Void Staff is kind of like your core late game combo. You delay that a little bit, even though the actual utility of the Banshees is nice.
Now this, and one of those issues with Ari sometimes does feel like you are caught between worlds in terms of what items you want for playmaking versus items you need to actually kill someone.
Yeah, that's why I like that, guys. This is why I like Medjais. You get a 25 stack Medjais, no one gives a damn. Like, you have enough AP. Who gives a damn at that point? You just kill people. Shadow, maybe look at the combo for Sheer again. Sheer is, you know, look, I've talked a lot about the Ari. Realistically, I'm an Ari main talking about. I'm talking about an Ari's an Ari main. Really is about the Gnar on the other side. Banshees has been popped from Care. As comes going down, there will be no smite. This will Charm in the middle of it though.
Ooh, and then Fong taken really low, needs to run across the Veil. The bullet time interrupted, pulls back away from it, and they kill off Dway on the back end as much as they can. Care still trading. Massive redemption, and Asum gets to Shadow now here. They've gotten the Herald, the Atacon slightly big above them that. Head in hands, even with the smite available, even with the advantage, they can't secure the fight. Sheer gets a monster one, Asum gets a monster one, and it's a disaster for OMG.
OMG lose the Atacon despite there not being a smite on the other side. It is Sheer, the Gnar, who has been winning through the side lane, which steals the Atacon, and OMG completely fuck up the cross map. That's no other way to put it. OMG have completely messed up on the cross map as FPX. I mean, they walk here and they say, okay, well, you know, really good charm here, by the way. Even a level down, Care gets that midway through the W. The animation's slow enough for you to punish, and suddenly Limfeng's out of the fight. No damage there. They try and burst down the Atakan, but the decision is split. They're not fully DPSing the Atakan, which means that the smite can't come through to get the GA. It's from bad to worse. OMG lose their minds around the objective, and then the GA goes to the other side, so they can't even get any follow-up kind of return kills.
They lose their entire team and the Atakan for the price of Dway. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that. Banshee's now fully funded. Third item in from Asum. Charm lands! And Moam is a medium rare steak for the whole of FPX. They are eating good this game.
Oh, they're having a banquet. Care has 3 stacks, and he has a GA to use as well. Goes in for a charm. Here comes
man
the he
alive.
also has that withdrawal.
Start to keep trading. Decent charm. Tart 2 comes on through. They've broken the base apart. No, so that's a tier 2 going down. They will get one of those withdrawals, but not more than that as Harry's World Ender goes down. They finally get another withdrawal, but I think they're kind of happy with that. They forced 2 kills. They forced their way back into the base. The tier 2s are falling. FPX in a great position this game.
Now, and Care could have flashed over, just chooses not to. It's not like when you die with the withdrawal, you lose your stacks on your Dark Seal or anything, and he wants that charm, that flash for playmaking potential later. He'll teleport back into play. Now he has himself that flash later, and Hung has gone way too far into a monstrously fed knock.
Oh, no.
Sheer is absolutely ridiculously strong.
5, 0, and 8 on the now. He's got a Campunk chainsaw to just max everything out. And he is looking a little bit like one of those Hellwalkers you hear about from Doom. Wherever he goes, rip and tear until the game is done. Moam dies again. Another wonderful engage from Care. The Ari main looks stylish. There's the Faker. Kill feed at the top. Beautiful stuff from FunPlus. Phoenix rising from the ashes of their first game defeat today.
You're wondering why Care saved his flash earlier. That's why he did it. Charm flash forwards, ends the game, solo lane domination from FPX. They go for the Alistar. You know what? I look at this top esports comp and I think this is very difficult to play. I don't love this composition in terms of ease of execution. They get IP, much easier for them to, you know, lock in something like a Rel, Leona now, Nautilus if it goes to it, and get themselves that dedicated lockdown. Feels very easy for them to play around it.
Holding on for this last pick. Top Esports have got a lot of dive here. It's not quite the vibe, but Neferi can kind of play a similar role with that to Leah. Looking to make the plays start up. Rel locked in. It's a big team fight gone for NIP too.
And I think NIP's comp is much easier to play. Now, the thing is, I think Top Esports have way more damage. Neferi, incredible damage. Rumble, incredible damage. Misfortune to If they actually hit their targets, the DPS race is won by Top Esports. It is much harder to hit their targets though because the lockdown is much harder for them to land. NIP have an Ambessa ult, they have the Viego W, they have Jhin W, they have the Rel combos as well. And they have the
option here in the LPL. We wait to see exactly how this all plays out. Lights, cameras and actions all preparing a role. Very explosive mid-game from both teams.
Game 4 of the day, best of ones rolling through here. This one should be a fight for the top spot. NIP, Top Esports look dominant in their first games of the day. NIP, I think, walk away with an easier to play composition, but they have to play against Top Esports' current champions. Let's see if we get some Joes this time.
Crowd unmuted well and truly this time. Both teams understandably getting a lot of support here. That's our 2 best teams in the group. Fans all here to support for that one. You can see pretty dramatic shifts in points of power in this game. And the predicted stats bottom points of power often very narrow in the LPL.
Yeah, I think what that graph doesn't really tell though is how difficult it is to play these compositions. You know, Top Esports, they have Alistar for CC. The rest of it is like an unassisted Talia combo. It's very difficult to play around that. This is the kind of game which a Jhin can just land a random W for NIP and it completely wins them the game. Because Top Esports don't have that ease of execution to play around. Jaculov, we'll see how lane dominant he could be on the Misfortune. He's struggled to be that at first stand. We've highlighted that already, compared regionally. And Top Esports, of course, coming back for their first games in LPL after the embarrassment of first stand. He gets his dancing grenade. onto both members there. This early bot lane. We'll see how much Jackie can get out of it. Chris is going to look for potentially a skill level 1. No, chooses not to go for a headbutt or a pulve. Wave control, very important in these kind of early lanes.
Checking this out.
You're looking up Neferi skills.
Well, the reason is I went to look them up, and the wiki and the League of Legends page has not had it changed. I was like, hang on, I wanted to double check, so I was just looking through a few different things.
Yeah, Chris gets level 2 first. Wave control, lead put into the wall.
Let's get the damage back. His lead, though, just gets a standard lever, throws out a good deadly flourish. Crips now in danger, and the barrier prop comes on through. Top Esports try to fuse the level 2 and can't secure the kill. Jackie now in danger. The mount up comes on through. We'll try and get one back on a Jackie, but Jackie just flashes forward, so they overplay the extended 2v2. Jackie will still likely fall here. Crashdown just wide. Here comes Kanavi, though, and he will make sure that PP God is forced to flash. Jackie does still fall, though, nonetheless.
Yeah, that was very unnecessary from Leave. You already got yourself that first kill in the lane. It was an assist, sure, but you knew that there was a chance of a double up coming back. Leave could have just let PP God to it. Jackie Love loses both summoners, but so does Leave. No summoners left available now in the mid lane. Kanavi not able to make an impact in that bot lane play. Starts off with the level 2 hit by Chris and Jackie Love first, and Chris does get himself a good combo. Jackie Love not quite able to get himself into range, though, and a really good delaying crash down from PP God. Means that Jackie Love can't finish off Leave with some extra auto attacks before Leave turns around with huge damage. This is the unnecessary bit. Look, you are within 2-tap distance. It's a big mistake there from Leave. That felt very unnecessary. As PP God at least manages to chase after the extra kill.
He does, and Kanavi nearly gets one back there, but there is still the flash up and available. Did interrupt his clear a bit to make that happen, though, so Neferi's had to run up to other parts of the map. It's actually interesting looking to see whether there's an dive on this Ambassador available with the wave timing. Here we go. Can look to throw out the Darkened Daggers, does so. And the dogs keep hunting. They get the kill on the Ambassador. Kanavi off to the races. Hyenas on the prowl.
First kill helps with the Darkened Dagger. Bleed coming through. It's a big wave lost by Shanji. That's a problem. You already know that you gave over that Rumble. And you thought, okay, it's a consolation prize of the Ambassador, but now you're behind in the top lane matchup. That's a problem. Top Esports were saying, hey, it's a hard composition to play. The ease of execution, difficult. However, you get a lot of gold. That tends to smooth over a lot of those worries.
Does that. Now, waiting to see exactly how it goes. Of course, you can still be pretty tricky with that reworked W. So get that in, that moment of invulnerability, untargetability is actually what it's not invulnerability, critical difference there. Annoying for Ambassador to try and find damage back in those key moments, and it's just a nicely executed dive. Delays that kind of clear a little bit, but with the respawn account, can just kind of reverse clear and be okay. Maybe 4 CS or whatever, it's not that big a deal. Engage on to leave though. Potentially a little bit trickier. Deadly Burst comes on down. Chris now in a dangerous spot. It's great. Make it rain. Prevents Leave having easy follow-up. Jackie no mana though. Could prove problematic, but the straight-up autos are good. Chris with the cooldowns coming back up and available. Leave waiting for that Deadly Flourish option. Tries to land on Chris, but does so. Watch for the double up though. Jackie can find the autos. Jackie finds both.
3 kill misfortune. Jackie Love internationally had some worries, but regionally, he's on top, baby. The LPL champions in the bot lane get themselves a crucial 2v2 against Leave and PP God, who I thought were doing very well in the 2v2 up until that point. Big loss for NIP. Individual mistakes of pulling them behind the game. I really like this composition from NIP, but if they're behind too much gold, I don't think we'll see the best of it.
Crisp starts the engagement. It's happened both times around where it's Crisp going in. It actually almost went wrong the first time. This time around though, Jackie just gets to stand and deliver, even with the lack of mana. Just gets to do so much work on the Leave, who has to play from way further out suddenly.
And he has the press the attack available, you know, that's already active. It increases your damage after it's been procced. Leave puts a lot of damage into Chris, which isn't onto Jackie Love. That's the problem there, really. He dumps, you know, 90% of the HP into the Alistair. If that had gone to the MF, it would have changed everything. Big run towards top side now on the Grub spawn. They want to punish Shanji before he hits level 6.
And those lane swap mechanics have all dropped off. Shanji is a very dead Noxian. Nice dive.
Top Esports much cleaner on the map. So much cleaner on the map. Where has Aki been in these plays? Not able to. He's not been there to shield top lane. He's not been there to interact with that bot lane. What did we learn about Top Esports at first stand? If you interrupt the 2v2 early by getting down there early, they fall apart. Aki didn't manage to do that. Doomby's not been able to do that as well. Maybe you could have teleported down at some point. NIP, I feel like they've misread top esports strengths and weaknesses, fighting them in a pure TV2, losing that, and now losing on the map because top esports have just coasted through this early game.
Shanji goes back towards his bot side, but it's just feeling very difficult. And Jackie Love's Misfortune didn't work out at first down, but regionally has been so good. Doing his very best to be scary as he can be. Dropped a wave or two here, but I think on the whole, you're kind of okay with that in the grand scheme of things, just with how many kills he's picked up in trade.
So now we get through into our next phase of the game. Early game still rolling along. Don't have, of course, the second spawn grubs yet. They only just went back down, but I'm really worried for the NIP at this point. It feels like top esports. Yes, it's hard for them to play good card trade there from Onivia. Actually, that gets a good amount of value out of that, but the amount of gold being given over to top esports this early on will be able to make their composition much easier to play, because suddenly it's like, well, a bullet time even without CC now forces NIP to flash out. Rumble Equalizer can do the same thing. NIP could not afford to give over this early advantage, and I feel kind of crap for them, because Leave's Jhin has typically been a very big point of power. Typically, Aki's Viego has been a good point to them too. But they've put themselves into a very hard to play out situation now.
And like literally just the last game we saw Leave, it was a fantastic Jhin game. So it's not even like we're talking last split even. We're talking earlier today. It just hasn't worked out here in the first game. 2v2s have gone pretty wrong for them. And you had that conversation when we first top esports played today. And you said, look, Jackie and Chris, the 2v2 wasn't so much of an issue.
Look at this wave control here on the bot side. No one's coming to help Shanji. Shanji sat here alone bot side. Aki on the complete opposite side of the map. He's now had to just hairfoot it down towards that bot side. But Shanji's already losing out in XP and in terms of wave. For me, the big difference here has been Aki not being in the right place at the right time to bail out his team.
Kanavi now takes the opportunity to dive on in, but flash for the W means Kanavi has to use that call of the pack to go in targetable for a moment or two, trying to get the kill. Flash over the wall, survives as Jhin can't bring down the dog.
Kanavi goes intangible, and NIP can't grasp the kill. Aki does get himself, a decent play in there for the damage, but this is the problem with trying to look for the reset onto the Neferi. She presses W and you can't get that damage down in that moment.
Here's the big switch, right? Hound's Pursuit becomes the ult, Call of the Pack becomes the W. Have a look at this again, because it felt like a great angle here, honestly, from Aki and Shanji.
But they don't get the one-shot. They don't get the one-shot, and then suddenly you have the Talia minefield down. You can't dash around as the Ambassador after that point, and Kanavi gets himself out, particularly when you get the refresh of your ultimate. If you get the reset after the first kill comes through, you get a shield on the second cast of it. That's the difference there. For those of you that don't know the Nefarian mechanics, ever since the Hound's Pursuit came through, the first kill gives you one reset on your ultimate, gives you a shield on that, so great ability to outplay. Doesn't have the ultimate right now, though. Might be. Doesn't have the flash either, so not nearly as survivable this time.
Of course, Aki down the flash in the ultimate too, makes that Viego a lot more vulnerable in trade, so let's swing a little in roundabouts. And I was just about to ask about Neferi and why it feels like she's become so busted with the switch of the abilities, but they're going to go for disengage here as Cream just gets eviscerated. Nice combo from PP God and Doinb.
PP God, 2-1-1. That is a fed old rail, and gets something into the mid lane. Returns a bit of a love letter over to Cream, the OMG member on the other side of the rift. NIP have three of them, Shanji, Aki, and PP God. Cream was their mid laner in 2023. There's a bit of a family reunion there for the yearbook photo. Top Esports have an advantage in that mid lane now. It's 1,000 and a bit gold lead for Top Esports. At this timestamp, that's an awful lot. But remember, they need that gold, really. I feel like NIP, they get themselves down to even footing. They have a lot of power to play around.
2-0-1 on this Neferi, 4-1 on the Misfortune. Both of these players are in fantastic spots. Towards the grubs we go. First set were claimed by Top Esports. Now we already kicking these ones off, trying to make sure that their dogs stay alive. Are getting eaten alive a little by the grubs. Does sometimes happen, so actually with that much of a pack to work with is Kanavi at the moment.
Yeah, you can just use his W to resummon them if you'd like, but then you don't have your defensive tool. That's the trade-off you have with the Neferi. Use your W for clear speed and damage, or use it for that defensive ability. It's kind of like when Jax uses Counter-Strike. It's like, okay, I use this for various different things. Doinb has to flash out of the combo, but Aki's here on top side. Cream still no flash.
Going to be in so much danger. Gets jumped on, goes down. Thought he was safe with his jungler and people around in that grub pit, but nice angle from Aki to get on in there, and claims the kill on Cream. And IP suddenly finding a few strikes back here after an early game that felt pretty against them.
Still 6 grubs over the top Esports. I'm a little worried about that now.
Yeah.
Because we saw how well top Esports played around sidelines against FPX. NIP will need to have their macro on point, and top Esports, you know, all credit to them. Their early games were pretty ass at first stand, but their macro in side lanes is something that we've learned so much about in the LPL. NIP need to be very, very careful not to allow free hits onto turrets.
Eviscerating forwards there because Kanavi does a little cartwheel when you do the eviscerate. It's quite entertaining. Spinning Dog of Doom.
The whirling dervish. Kanavi bring those dogs back to full HP. Peepgod doesn't have flash, so he used it to kill Cream earlier, and that might just gift him over towards top Esports.
Goes crashing on down, gets a few resists. They'll open up the curtains and try and find an angle. Cream eats one. On the other side, 369 just sticks the afterburners on and chases Shanji away. He's 2 levels down, by the way.
Yeah, that one's pretty rough. And this is where a lot of this one's going to teleport out.
No! Cancel. Into the bullet time as well, just about survives. But here comes the house pursuit. Oh!
Kanavi gets a kill onto Shanji. Reset on the ultimate. Not needed to be used here. Top Esports really, really playing well to punish this Ambassador, who's not had any help from the rest of his team. Going to be wave clear ultimate to make sure the 6 grubs don't immediately kill the tower.
Eclipse completed, level 9, Neferi gets to hop in, having had so much hard work done by 369 and Chris. Shanji just could not escape no matter what there.
I really think this game has potentially been lost for NIP around Aki not supporting his lanes early enough. I really wonder if that's where this game's been won and lost. Peepgod goes in, doesn't have the follow-up of Durnby. He teleports in now, but it's a little too late. The CC comes through, but the CC is not just there. It doesn't last long enough for the team to come up into it. Shanji tried to walk up to the play, but 369 warded him off, and because of the... Hang on, 369 just died on the other side. That's a good moment, but the problem is, why couldn't that have happened before the last big fight? Top Esports get themselves their big advantages. They take that top lane turret. 369 teleported up towards it, and the 6 grubs make it so easy for them to do that.
And the turret was still claimed top nonetheless, so they've got that first turret. They've already got 3 objectives, 3 kills. The feats of strength are fully claimed by Top Esports in every possible metric. They got all 3 of the markers. And now NIP, yeah, you scale kind of fine, but the mid game where you were supposed to be really potent with this Aurora, Jhin, the Diego de Mesa, that whole really nasty burst pick combo, isn't going to be playing out. And you were saying, look, I actually think Top Esports comp is a little harder to play. Right now, it's not feeling like it because the pieces are so far ahead of the curve.
And that's something that we kind of learned about Top Esports last split. Sometimes their drafts were harder to play, but they were just so good at playing their individual pieces that it didn't matter. That came to bite them at first stand, and, you know, Top Esports, maybe that's a lesson they'll learn at some point, but not here today. They play through this competition, they're playing so well individually once again that NIP haven't really managed to use what I would consider to be a comp advantage.
And in fairness to him, it's not like Top Esports comp doesn't make sense, right? The Neferi and the Tilia, really good divers with Crisp, and you've got a good follow-up with an equalizer and a bullet time. You use skirmish really well with that. It's not like this comp isn't on theme, right? It's not like it's just random champions for lane prio. But even so, as necessarily cohesive in the team fights requires a little bit more decision-making and patience and prudence in terms of who you jump on when.
4 kill Neferi, man, that's ridiculous.
How on earth are you going to kill this dog? She's very hard to kill at the best of times.
He's a level up on the enemy top lane. It dodges out some of the ambassador damage. Needs to be a little bit careful. Remember, his dogs can block out the W if he needs to. Hops over the wall with the eviscerate. Lost some ability for this champion. Also remember that I believe the W, it doesn't, so your W doesn't give you a shield anymore. It gives you the, the untargetability instead. But you do have a lot of move speed when you I think your W gives you the extra bonus AD and the extra move speed as well when you still do that. That's what the old ult gave. I'm trying to remember what they actually stripped from the W when they made it a basic ability. But either way, Neferi is really hard to lock down, really.
Yeah, and I think much like the Diana rework, she just feels a lot more dynamic now as a champion. Because obviously, it's very similar in the fact that before Diana got her rework, her Luna Rush was her ultimate, which was the dash. Whereas Moonfall was the basic ability on Nate.
This is the thing. I actually think, well, they did the opposite, right, between the two of them, in terms of they gave Diana the mobility on her basic kit, and they gave Neferi, like, her mobility and her ult instead, and they kind of locked her out of the other game. I suppose she had the dash as the E, so it's a little bit different in that situation. Herald being started up, Kanavi ready to rip and tap. This is going to be a very, very dangerous Neferi if they get in towards the backline. You can't block that dash 2 anymore, the Hound's Pursuit. You used to be able to block like a Caitlyn ult. Here comes the fight. Ult going to be popped by Chris, maybe? No, holds. No, uses it now.
Blocking the target. Neferi will get onto the people she likes to, which is partly what makes her a lot more dangerous now. Let's cross the wall there.
Derby takes away the scuttle crab though. Dragon spawning in 40 seconds.
Black Cleaver done that as well for this.
That's terrifying. He has 2 items before his solo laners.
And so much ability haste as well. Like, your W, your E are going to be on such short cooldowns. That mobility, that untargetability, it is just fizz all over again.
And how do you lock that down? NIP need to get that reset, and if Neferi is their target, it's hard to finish them off. And if Neferi isn't that target, someone's dying on your side in compensation for it. So, really dangerous for NIP to approach these fights. They might be able to find themselves a monster 5v5 with the flash available from PP God, but they're going to do that with a 2-level disadvantage in top lane. It feels like a jungle advantage, which is very, very hard to overcome.
NIP going to try and come and contest this, but only be second dragon, but they're still TPing in on top Esports. Deadly Flourish comes on down, trying to hold on to this mid lane wave. How aggressively do they want to play this? 2MB has got TP, just resetting now, but it's not here right now to help defend his turret. Wall comes on through, Leave now in a tricky position. Does sidestep the seismic shot, but eventually does have to fly. TP God goes looking on in, but even with the Between Worlds, the bullet time stands and delivers. Konami gets a reset, can start to hop on forward to the Hound's Pursuit, and the rest of it eviscerating away to safety. And even with a good angle from Leave at the end of it all, they can't get a kill back.
Cream's ult really just forces NIP to play into a position they don't really want to. They can't get themselves an isolated target. They're the ones that are starting to split and fracture. Jackalope puts down the bullet time, and NIP's fight is just over. And I think at this point, the game will be over. It's 6,000 gold lead at 18 minutes. It's a dragon advantage, 6 grubs in ungodly fed Neferi jungle for our second of LPL in the year, second ever in pro play in top tier. Konami goes in for initial combo onto PP God. Yeah, they get themselves the initial combo, but dodges out on the Spectral Maul by pressing W. That goes untargetable. Aki goes down. They can't give themselves the reset. Shanji comes in late. NIP are so far behind in individual roles. They're so far behind on the map that top esports get to just push in the dagger, and NIP can't respond.
Just saw the curtain call starts coming through, and Neferi goes, cool, I'll press R. Gets the shield, step, jumps on forward, gets on out, has Eclipse to work with as well. Like, Eclipse shields and untargetability and mobility, the resets on the ult, Neferi that gets ahead is very hard to bring down.
And what we saw there as well is, like, Shanji gets tagged, I think, by 1 dagger. The Black Cleaver basically instant stacks from the bleed, and then Shanji just melts. He's already behind 2,000 gold and 2 levels. Getting instant shredded by the Black Cleaver is nasty as hell. You know, we saw yesterday, oh, he was the guy that was playing it. We saw, it was the jungler from Junhao from Ultra Prime, yes. Play towards the Shojin second and then go towards Black Cleaver a little after that. But Black Cleaver as a spike is absolutely insane. If you just get that single dagger on target, you shred someone so nicely for the rest of your team.
And obviously, we're very excited about the Neferi. It's a cool champion. We're glad to see it finally getting a bit of love. I just think it feels a lot more cohesive now with the rework on the build. Because, like I was saying with the Diana rework, yes, it's a change in, like, dash to go to a basic ability for Diana. But what it does feel is it feels like the ult is now impactful. Yes. That's the big difference. And much like Diana rework, it feels like the ults just feel so much more satisfying to use.
And also the other thing as well is, like, for a long time, Riot really wanted Neferi to be an AD assassin mid laner. And the only reason she could be that is because she had too many stats, basically. Yes. They had to give her so many stats that she was broken in that and remove any sort of jungling capability. But people wanted to play this champion jungle. It's much easier to play an AD fighter, bruiser in that jungle. Konami playing so well in that role. And you can see how crazy it is when you start to snowball at this point. You don't have the same fallbacks of that AD assassin in the mid lane.
You know, the hilarious thing is, Neferi still has a higher win rate in mid than she does in jungle. She just can jungle her now.
Oh, well, ult comes through from Leave. Here comes Shanji.
Jackie's going to be in danger here, potentially. Have to flash on out the initial Drake count step. They get a really big shutdown. That's 2,500 of the gold gone. But the remaining fight is still so tricky. Top esports punish the teleport. Neferi's on the other side, claiming some kills. We'll call the pack back to her. But it's not about the Neferi this time around. It's 369 on the Rumble, who is still so monstrous. He is over 2,000 gold ahead of his opponent and a deadly, deadly force.
Big to differ about it not being about Konami. He just one-shot 2 people in the backline. He just one-shot 2 people in the backline. Christ almighty. 369 was on screen, but Konami was in the back alleys. The stray dog putting NIP into an awful position. Both of them having such a great team, because a great game. Konami set up 369 for success, and now Shanji is 0-6 and ambassador. Watch what happens to it with 369, yes, absolutely, but look how Konami uses his reset into the backline. Chris and Cream help him with that. but that's one shot already basically onto one player.
Hang on, he got shoved out of his dash and still gets to do this? That's silly.
It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kanavi is so ridiculously fed. 369 had the main stage on the when it was live, and yes, shreds the backline after Jacula falls, but Kanavi is ungodly fed.
Jackie now, DC at infinity. It's gone for the SS rebuild again because you can play to be a little bit more wave clear and get through your ability spammy because you've got this Giga-fed Rumble, this Giga-fed Neferi. Cream, despite dying a couple times early, also pretty happy. He's got to set on the arm guard and build towards a death cap.
Kanavi currently 2 levels ahead of not just Aki, but Shanji as well, because Shanji's been so starved. And the more I think about this game, Durnby not able to do that much here. We'll jump back onto Kanavi, but that is a mistake.
Didn't get the reset quite yet, but now gets to dash away with the Eviscerate. Will now have a reset on the ultimate available. Hound's Pursuit can go again. How aggressive does Kanavi want to do this? Takes a turret shot there a bit too aggressively. Can look to go back on the other side. Shanti trading out with Jackie, but just doesn't win it. And Bessa losing a 1v1 with a misfortune tells you everything you need to know. Out of the curtain call and into the fire. Aki goes down. Shanji goes down. Dornby is down. It's just Leave remaining. The deadly flourish comes on through. It ain't so deadly. It is a pathetic bee sting at this point in the game. Onto the inhibitor turrets they go, and top Esports decisive in their crushing of this game.
6 Grubs makes short work of the top lane inhibitor turret. Top Esports have snowballed beyond what anything which I would have thought at that point. Look at the pack following Kanavi. Almost at 3 items at this point in the game. God, so strong. Durnby, poor combo from him. He ends up jumping with the E back into his ultimate. It's the same mistake which was made yesterday by another Aurora, which we saw. Uses the E to try and get that backstep, just punts him back into the play again. It feels like NIP are just so tilted, so off the same page. And, you know, Shanji cancels out the bullet time, but it's at the cost of pretty much his own life at that point. Aki can't even get himself a reset. Goes on to the Alistair. Can't kill him. He gives up his own life for it. NIP fell way too far behind early. I really, again, will stress, I think NIP did not support their lanes well enough from top side and bot side in their early jungle clear. Lee flashed forward and died anyway. It's going to be another dragon going over to the side of top Esports. But NIP, after the early game mistakes, have not been able to recover. Top Esports have ran them through.
And some of it's just individual stuff. Like Jackie and Chris had a really good 2v2. And we kind of started this conversation and got to chat about Neferi instead, which was super reasonable considering she's 7-0-7 this game, by the way. But it wasn't Jackie and Crisp's 2v2 mechanics that were so much in question at first, and it was their map reading mechanics. It was their mini-map mechanics.
So
and that's not been an issue this game.
For those of you who are trying to, again, compare first stand to right now, Shanji's going to die here. He has Flash, but he's likely going to die because Kanavi used the Hand. That is a dead Ambassador. Chose another wolf, and this time chose another dog. Kanavi takes him down again. 0 and 8 on the Ambassador.
Canine Curse coming on through. The dog's paw curls. You go for the skid line, it goes 0, 8, and 2. It's gone voltaic Cyclo Swords. Just does have no survivability, no ability to play out the game. It just gets harder and harder and harder. What do you do as a Sambessa?
Die on cooldown. There's nothing you can do at this point. At this point, everyone is too powerful. You can't win 1v1s against anyone on the other side of the rift. It is impossible to play this out from NIP. They're going to go towards the Ruinous Atakan. That'll buff up their 6 Grubs and their Mountain Dragons and everything else, just in case they weren't powerful enough already. And yeah, to return back to the conversation we had before Shanji died for an 8th time, what is the difference between top Esports at first stand and top Esports here? The difference was the early game in a lot of ways. Yes, you can say that the drafts were, you know, bad at first stand, but they were the same as they were regionally. They were just exposed internationally because Jackal and Crisp are so used to being lane dominant, but they got ganked early every game, and they don't respond well to early ganks. Kanavi does not babysit his bot lane as 369. He might just kill him again. There's no flash on Shanji. Chooses not to follow beyond that point. She's just giving a bit of love tap with that ultimate, really. But top Esports, I really think LPL teams need to push them in the 3v2 early. Just hyper gank that bot lane because they don't respond well to it. But teams have not picked that up today.
No, they haven't. Aki decided to play a little bit more reserved in the jungle. Kanavi now with a death dance, could be level 16. Goes hunting on forward, but eviscerating. He's got a call of the pack. It won't go too much further. Chris was channeling that Hex Flash. This TP is flying as well, but they know it's happening as 369 is here. And again, we've talked a lot about the Neferi, but for a long time, it was 369 who was up. Over 3,000 gold individually. Shanji is a cannon minion this game. He is out of the robot and just little old Shinji without the power of the Eva.
Shinji, get out of the robot.
No,
but the thing
it's
is that
bad.
we can talk about 369 too, but the reason he's ahead is because also Kanavi set up success, killed
Oh my
Shanji
God.
on that wave. PP God will die ungracefully in that bot side jungle's NIP. It feels like this has just been a slow collapse.
Really has, and Top Esports been toying with their food a little bit. That feels on brand for Neferi. Into the base we go Aki on a flank angle, but as a Viego with a Collector and a Trinity Force, this needs to be good. Wall comes on down and interrupts the curtain call. Not even able to use it for wave clear. They'll try and use the Hallowed Mist on the wall to give move speed for Aki. Trying to find an angle. Hound's Pursuit comes on through. Goes to the back and it goes!
Jesus.
Oh my God! I've not seen anything like this renamed to Fenrir, because that is the end of days. It's Ragnarok material.
Top Esports will win their second game of the day by Kanavi and crew. FPX locking that Renata, and now you have to play Kai'Sa Rakan versus Kalista Renata. That is a lane they must overperform in, really, to survive in the 2v2. Maybe Aki comes and babysits them.
Maybe. I think he's going to have to in some ways. It's going to be very, very tricky, because if you do get that lane prior working, it could be a serious point of power to get that Vi and Aurora into a good position to find that big combo they've drafted for. Of course, NIP with the Shinzao, with the Talia, have got ways to respond. They've got good skirmishing there themselves. Rakan with that Shinzao has been a pretty common pairing of jungle support across the history of those champions. I think I agree, especially with lane swaps removed. This is going to be a dicey bot lane to be running.
All right, game 5. Both these teams taking losses today now, with NIP getting blasted by Top Esports. Time to see if OMG can get themselves their, FPX can get themselves their second win of the day and pull ahead somehow with a positive win rate. That would be an upset. Of course, we've got a second round robin to be played between these two teams as well. This was the only group to have not played games up until today. NIP, let's see if they can shake off the disaster of that last game.
Oh, well, disaster is one way to put it. It wasn't close, was it, Al?
No,
it really wasn't.
It was not. No, it was not. NIP onto the rift once more.
Rich Tomato, NIP may lose, they may. It is a possibility available to you. Could also use the term could. Mayhaps.
Perchance.
Perchance.
You can't just say perchance.
I can. Watch me.
Did you ever see that meme?
I
I can't just say perchance. Look it up sometime. It's a funny edited essay where it comes out with the marks and someone says perchance. What do you mean you can't just say perchance? Anyway, right, game 5. Energy's starting to get a little bit weird here. See if the crowd can set things right with some gyros.
Ooh, fumbled FPX Gyro there. They got one off, and then they all started getting out of sync to work on the sync options. There we go to Gyro and our chance to play.
Shut up. Shut up.
As we get ready to head onto the rift.
God.
2 bot or not 2 bot? That is the question. Lane swaps have been removed, but you feel like that leave could have a pretty tricky time down there. I do half
When
wonder.
shall us we three int again?
You've changed plays, mate. I was doing the Hamlet
Sam,
speech.
I don't know Hamlet. I did a bit of Macbeth and a bit of Romeo and Juliet in school. I didn't do other Shakespeare, Sam. Not everyone has an English lit degree.
By the pricking of my... I was going to say, the thumb doesn't really work for pressing of keys, really. I use my thumb on V. It doesn't really work. I need to get this League of Legends related.
Walking up to autos, cute
Right
line.
on.
It's not bad. Using the heel
Heel
early.
the handshake. Leaves now having a horrible time. Needs to flash. Brutal start to the game. Can't quite get the kill. Turret shot onto a minion. I saw it flying quite deep there and began to wonder.
Yeah, there's lethal tempo. Not often you see the handshake level 1, but works really well. And you see they immediately back off because they know that enemy jungler's in the area. And Vi is going topside the bot side, but she's been spotted in a ward on the red buff, so that could be an issue. They're still level 2. So, Joy and Assume, we said they needed to get a lot out of this early lane. They've kind of messed it up in terms of the wave control. Aki was spotted crossing the river going into the blue buff. That's why they were really scared. They had a short window to make something happen. Aki gets himself into the enemy jungle, takes something away from Shadow.
He does, and Shadow will be down towards that boss. And again, Leave is still down 2 key summoners. It's just delayed the level 2. I still think Asum and Joe will be okay in the long run of it, as over does come Shadow. Just defending that little wraparound through gank there from Aki, who, because he's still got a lot of his bot side camps to clear, will be available to potentially defend a bot lane play should Shadow look to try and cheat that down at the level 3.
Assume had to recall at level 1 as a Kalista. And this is why I was worried about FPX in the bot lane. Saying, look, Assume and Dway, I mean, like, I don't mind them as individual players. Dway, I think, is one of my he's one of the better rookie supports to come up in recent years. But as a duo, they haven't been anything crazy. Even with the Kalista, can't get it done. Leave and PP God were out 2v2 by Jackie Love and Crisp, sure, but I mean, that's Jackie Love and Crisp. On an LPL level, they're incredibly good at 2v2s. In fact, Viper was shouting them out in one of his interviews, saying that actually top esports were the most difficult game to win at first stand because their 2v2 was so good. Sheer misses the cannon. Good job, buddy. Nice.
Sheer disaster.
Yeah.
Maybe exactly. It's the percent hit rate on the cannons.
Yeah.
You know?
Need to call up Wolfie, see if he's got any one-hit KO comps again.
How do you play around one-hit KO comps?
There are some which you can increase accuracy with, I'm pretty sure. But
I really want to run a double team comp. Just be really obnoxious, fast and double team.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Actually. I know that. Hang on a second, that's a decent one to check out. But still, they're a level down, level 3 to level 2 on Dway there, so he doesn't have bailouts to really force hard trades.
It's about a 5 CS lead. Again, it's not the end of the world. You still got the flash and barrier. It's just because they spotted Aki, say, okay, we have to back off. It's rough, but it hasn't broken things yet. They'd like to come and punish this flash being down if they can, or get some value out of it. You can see exactly why Shadow was just hanging around this bot side. Obviously being super efficient on the vibe because he wants to just make sure there's things to be seen. Now finally reset and look to get a camp or 2 here.
All right, so NIP, honestly for me, I think they've actually overcome the most difficult part of the game now. They haven't fell apart to early bot side pressure. Yeah, there's a chance that still something goes wrong, but still, already you've got Lee with enough XP from the early game to now wave clear. He'll get himself toward the Shiv, or whatever the hell he wants to get in his early game to get things to work. Actually, given that it's such a high AP damage team, probably don't even want the Shiv for the extra magic damage. You can go towards something like the Yuntal into the Hurricane build we saw from Jachi yesterday, which was good for him. But look, his wave clear is going to be completely fine now, is the long and short of it.
Also worth noting here that don't see this as reg anymore, but it's the heal on the AD carry, not like a barrier, which I think has been pretty much the default. That'll the cleanse for the last year or 2, honestly.
Yeah, no,
I see a lot of heal on AD carry.
I did notice that. Maybe just thought, look, they're not going to go for the ignite, so the heal gets good value in the all-in, and Dway can go for that instead. It gives safety to Dway and himself. While still
speeding is quite nice into a Kaiser as well.
But that's less important for Kalista, because Kalista, her helps scale with her boots and attack speed more than a lot of other stuff. So, right, has that heal again, does get knocked up. Good combo coming through. And again, Leave and PP God trading perfectly fine here in the TV2. They have overcome the most difficult part of the game.
Oh yeah, they have.
And that's really sucky for FPX because they were relying on that to a certain extent.
And that was our worry from draft, but as it stands, NIP now in a great spot, and the Kaiser, bluntly, with the Kalista still up, works out just fine. And for me, that suggests NIP had the read that Assume and Dway wouldn't be able to manage a lane like that to the level to take the Kaiser out of the game and leave a phenomenal Kaiser for a little bit of a step forward, zoning off the wave. At this point, you can drop a minion or 2 and still be just fine here as a guy who already got 5 extra ones from that level 1 play. Either work comes on through. Sheer gets the stone to the wall though. There's another one. It's going to be a part 3. Doesn't get enough value. And they finally turn up, but flash out. Sheer just gets the 1v1. Shanji. That's a fumble.
Shanji not having a great day today, folks. Blasted by top esports after not being covered on a dive, which sets him 2 levels behind. And here he just loses, not just in a solo kill, but a solo kill with a global coming to his lane. Shanji, really expect more from him. He was on good form last split. He's been up and down. I know that people have some questions for him as a top-tier top laner, but against mid-tier players and mid-tier table teams, he has been stalwart for the last few years. That's a bad death to give up, though, because Sheer, on the nut, got his MVP in the game that they played against OMG. He was absolutely critical in that one. Yes, the Ambassador is strong, but it feels like that could be a problem. Aki being forced onto you.
Wow, has his flash blown there as well. Feels like they got the opportunity, especially with no grubs up for 3 minutes, similarly for the Dragon. So you can afford to blow those cooldowns. Have a look at the replay here, because she's got the Mega and Shanks says, okay, we're going to start this. I've got Talia coming up. They're on the grubs. Let's do this.
I mean, Sheer just wallops him. He hits everything.
He misses his R3.
I don't even think that changes anything. That's the worst thing. Shanji miscalculates that so poorly with either the timing of Dermby coming up or the damage coming out from Sheer that it wasn't even close. Now Shadow has himself, level 6 and Flash, could potentially go for something. Magnar's coming up, and Shanji needs to be really careful. Needs to be really, really careful. Hops out of that vision. Shanji maybe thinks that something's coming in as the wave comes towards him, but my worry now is, yes, NIP survived the bot lane pressure, and the Kai'Sa will be strong, but...
Spotted.
Sheer can play through a side lane advantage if he gets ahead. We know he can do. Sheer was, I said this in their game earlier today against OMG. Sheer was my rookie of the year last year. It is very hard to learn weak side top lane mechanics, especially when you're playing into a lane swap meta, which came into late into his first split up in the LPL. He was an incredible individual laner, great team fighter, learned the ins and outs of top lane to a nuanced level which most don't learn for many years afterwards. Now he's onto an FPX team where I think it lacked leadership before Shadow came in, but his individual play could be a real weapon for this team to use, even if the other members of the map struggle to wield those weapons effectively.
I completely concur. Shanji and Sheer on screen right now. Sheer in a better spot than expected because of that 1v1. Had a MVP performance, remember, on the Gnar last time out. Was really, really good. Gets towards the Mega. Hallet missed just timed out. Decent snip though. Is well buffered through the CC. Doesn't interrupt that. So it's a fair amount of value. Got the Conqueror stacking and actually can now turn around with the ult. Gets the Ghost down as well. Doesn't get anywhere near the kill. Shanji overplaying it.
And while all this is happening, Shit has teleport and the waves coming into him, so he can back off. He's going even further back, so Dermby could have ulted up towards him. He'll get the recall now. Yeah, he'll lose a melee minion, but then he'll teleport back in time for the cannon, most likely. And NIP, yeah, a little bit worried about this top lane situation. They have to be.
Don't get me wrong, the Gwen will eventually get to a point where she's just terrifying, and is still actually up a fair amount of CS here in a melee range, but like, it's not great mechanical stuff so far.
Well, and you say about the CS, but this is with the wave crashing in, so it's not even going to be a 10 CS lead. The wave's going to crash in, there's a cannon there, I think there's a second wave coming in, so it's going to be more like, what, 5 CS?
CS if that, yeah.
If that, and Sheer has that solo kill, so he is completely fine with how this is going through, and as we said, you know, his CS lead is kind of whatever, marginal. It doesn't really impact that much. Sheer, very happy to take this out, and yes, Shanji will be the very empowered Gwen from this patch, but Sheer on an individual level might be able to play through side lanes. It is the only gold lead on the team. Mr. Bob, I don't want to go too far onto the Sheer point, because yes, individually, good, working well right now. Rest of the team with the Kai'Sa being ahead of the Kalista, not in such a bright spot.
No, the gold is, what, 400 or so to NIP, so an early-ish lead there. And of course, FPX still going to have a lot of power at this point in the game. And then that half item completion, first item completion, very strong for a lot of these champions. But NIP want to come over and fight this. We're up initially taken by FPX, but they don't want to stick around for anything more than that. So Weaver's Wall and the rest of NIP come in.
Assuming Dre didn't switch up towards top side, Shadow and Sheer were only really looking for one to deny the 6 grubs. That's the way that the map was set up. Often you can tell what a team wants to do around grubs with their lane. Sometimes teleports get thrown in and we get a little bit wrong on that. But if you switch your spot lane up to top lane early, you want to take the full thing if you can. If you're trying to sneak one away, often what you'll do is you'll just look for smiting the first one, get the hell out, don't give a kill over, and see how things work beyond that. Shit doesn't have his Mega Gnar right now. Did have a ward on the other side to spot an entrance into that bush by PP. God knows is safe now, though.
Looking now, that bot lane, which you kind of noted, that is a 20-ish CS lead down there, depending on how waves mark out, but like, that is Kai'Sa early, significantly ahead of this Kalista, upper level even.
Yeah, and that's a problem. You get the early Yuntal, start stacking up the crit chance now as well. He can go towards a Hurricane. He has himself the Q Evolve already, I think, with just the Yuntal. I think it gives you enough AD to do that one. I can't remember, actually.
Is that a build on Kai'Sa now, the Yuntal Wild Arrows? Because I'm normally seeing Cracker say if you go the AD version still.
Yeah, because it gives you more raw AD,
Fair.
which is nice. And yes, you lose some of the attack speed out, but if you go for Yuntal into Hurricane, you pick up some of the attack speed that you miss. We saw this from Jiachi yesterday, so I called that out in the early game, saying, well, okay, then might go just towards Yuntal into the Hurricane. You get yourself Q upgrade, your multi-target hitting. Feels like it's a strong build if you want to go towards physical damage Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa's build always been quite mutable, because it's a lot of hitting the break points that you need for your various upgrades.
It feels like we need, like, you know, there's the scientific journal Life, which just has loads of topics from everywhere, blah, blah. I feel like we need, like, a scientific journal for League of Legends from like Expatriate or something talking about this is the new research on XYZ build. You can read it with your morning coffee or something. I would actually do that. I say that as someone with a physics degree, but I would actually do that.
Yeah, shit, maybe a mega here actually. Do they want to play this? DP God's off on a good angle here. Shadow might end up face checking.
They really want this dragon if they can.
DP God will just throw Gleaming Quill out. Nice attempt for a seismic shot. Didn't quite catch the evil and super valuable there.
Well, Assume had to flash. Assume had to flash from it. He doesn't have that to play with. He has to go through the choke point now. Shanji on vision. They get the dragon.
Question guard comes on down, teleports now flying on through, NIP on the retreat. How much further do you want to go? Care goes for that between worlds. Now Shanji on the other side. Hallowed Mist comes on down, but still going to get shunted back. Star goes on in, the hostile takeover comes across multiple members of NIP. Nice extra pickup from FPX to get the dragon and the kill.
That was really well played from Care there on the Aurora. Yes, it wasn't really contributing to the kill. He's the one person who doesn't contribute to that, but he signals off the rest of the team with his ultimate. Leave might go towards a play now. That's too far from Shadow.
Oh boy, Leave can still look for an angle. Now ults, there's the bailout to no avail, and Shadow is in the shadows.
Really not sure about that one as, yeah, I guess he will be writing some dead letters from the Rasmus. As he go...
Oh.
Man, for those of you that weren't around for like the early 2000s
You
emo
missed out,
scene, you missed out, folks. In the Shadow, bang song. But yeah, that was too far from Shadow. They'd done the hard work. They got the dragon. They got the first kill there. That was fine. Just didn't need to go overreaching for it, especially with so many ultimates available. Yeah, watch how Care plays this out, because what he does here with his big ultimate, say like, look, I'm just gonna zone you off with the Malignant Burn and the extra damage through. It allows Sheer to go on towards Shanji, and then the rest of the team is out of position because of Care's ultimate. The solo lane is really working well. Much like in their other game today, FPX's solo laners having a good time with it.
The fights have been pretty good, though again, you're still in this position where Leave is really looking scary, and you get a kill on Assume, necessary. Got the Blade of the Rune King, it's only down 300 so gold, still just fine here, but you need to kind of put the pedal to the floor now, or this the Callista's power rather, versus the Kai'Sa is going to start dwindling.
Because, you know, he said, yes, needed kill onto the Callista, immediately answered with a kill on Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
Kai'Sa getting closer towards 2-3 item, with this build it's like a 2-item Exodia really, which, well actually we'll see exactly what he goes towards. From what I have seen, it has been the Hurricane second you go for this, pick up some of the wave, clear that. Sometimes you lose by dropping attack speed and something like a Shiv, which gives you good attack speed, at least within pros play for the wave clear. So, NIP, slightly ahead in gold. We'll say, if FPX are going to come back with another win condition, Infernal Soul is a good one for that. Because what you can do at that point is, obviously you can look for the Callista Ren stacking and try and play around the Infernal for that. But also you can drop a dragon or two for Sheer, if Sheer thinks he can win through a side lane as well. 2 dragons, very important. It's very important that they got themselves that dragon secure in the last play.
It was, and it just came down to a smite fight. Q smite from Shadow, a little bit too much to deal with. And there's Sheer, with his stats up on screen, giving a little finger heart. Having a good time here.
Now I can't read those stats. Looked like they were good though, on the graph. I was like, they're like, yes.
Big number gaming.
Big number gaming. Big number gaming. I appreciate that. So, Sheer. That's kind of the hope for FPX, and the dragon's there too. Care hops over the wall. He needs to use his ults. He does do flashes out of the minefield, goes out, but here goes PP God.
Beautiful read. Care still going to be just about alive though. They burn a lot. To not quite get him. Turn around now from Shadow. Can look to go on in as Assume, trading out with Leave. Nice ult in from Leave. Catches the Callisto retreat. The Sheer does pop out on one. They've lost the Aurora, and all the while Care is down. Doinby trading out now as they're trying to get onto Shadow, who gets a decent shield with the denting blows passive. Aki goes down too far. The hostile takeover comes across. Shanji and Doinby trading out in a 2v3. Leave all the while though shoving down mid lane.
Yeah, Leave getting that extra kill is what actually makes the difference. Sheer teleports in towards topside and uses his Brawn to get himself something out of the play, but this Kai'Sa is already very, very deadly and is winning the 1v1 versus the Callista, who is just not a factor. Assume is not a factor. I know a lot of people are talking about, well, wait, you know, Assume leaving EDG, yeah, Arn's coming in, but you know, what was Assume the problem? And Bat leaving FPX, you know, is Assume the solution? Right now, he's the problem, really. Shove not quite long enough range to go for Care, and Doomie not wanting to flash in range for it, can confirm that kill. He's a lot of their cooldowns are now used. Yeah, he's still got the Shin's out with the early power, we talked about that earlier today, of course, where it was Shadow at the bad end of that against OMG as well. Does manage to get a great play on the turret though, Zaki. CC'd, ult comes through. Really well played to get multiple denting blow passives there. And this is Leave getting a red buff as well. Going for a great combo here. Great AD assassin play.
That gets that one little vision ward just between the Raptors in the mid lane over that wall. Can catch a lot of people out in rotation. Doomby now in danger as well, trying to back away, cannot do so. Nice combo between the Vi and the Aurora.
Doomby out of sorts, goes down for his first death of the game as FPX focus down on that Talia. What else is happening around the rest of the map? There's a Herald on top side that might be traded for. Remember that NIP have the 5 grubs, so they're quicker at killing towers, but there are 3 people down here. They'll be able to take that one. NIP already have themselves the feats of strength, so first tower not obviously applicable to that. Giving over Herald for the kill on the tower. Yeah, it's a good short-term game, but NIP might be able to break open a part of the map with us. We've already taken, though, the mid lane out of
That was what Leave got after killing off Assume, didn't join the fight. Top side said, look,
maybe FPX say, look, we've already lost our mid lane turret. We can give up the Herald because, let's be honest, we can't protect our mid lane tower that's already gone.
Worth noting as well, Leave didn't go towards the Hurricane, went straight to a Lord Dominic's regards.
Okay. Now that's a bit different. Yeah, that is a very different. So I guess Melody thinks it's like, look, I want as much upfront burst as possible. Now, it doesn't work on your W, doesn't work on your passive, does work on your Q.
Yes.
But even with that, you know, I have seen some Collector Kaiser in the past for this. This is future-proofing your build and saying, look, if you get some armor onto Sheer at some point or onto Vi, this will cut through it. I feel like that with double AP solo laners, Lord Doms is not the best ever. It does give you some decent crit and armor point, don't get me wrong, but at that point, why not go for a better crit item? Shadow getting good combo onto PP.
Okay, gets the quickness off before the turnaround can come on through. Teleport behind though. Sheer going to be here with a potentially really nasty angle. It's Care! I got it wrong because Sheer was already there. Went for the Mega Arm, misses out the PP, got to him. He's still in danger though as the cease and desist comes on through. Denting blow still there. Seismic shove will not keep him alive. And they get the pickup on the Talia.
Leave, gonna go towards that turret. Tell you what the Lord Doms does work for. Works for armor towers, by the way. Aki looking to stop some recalls, and he will do. So that's gonna be an inner turret for the Kaiser. No Herald used because, of course, Aki's got it, and he was protecting those backs already. FPX get a good pick, and they're getting good picks. They're using their teleports well to force plays, but they're losing on the macro of the actual tower taking. This is something that they really fell apart with against top esports earlier today. They did just fall apart through the actual structures of it. And that's something which I'm now really keeping an eye at. That's on my radar now for FPX. Their picks are good, but what about their actual macro? Feels like that's been lacking today in terms of the actual gold and the advantages they're getting from towers.
Yep, I think that's fair. I also think, remember, there was no teleports to get down here, so yes, they get the pick, but they only get 1 kill for burning a lot there, and all the while Leave is like, cool, I guess I played for tier 2.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Worth noting that Care mechanically misplayed on the Aurora by cancelling his ult. He wanted to W into it to get out to the other side of the play, so we've seen a lot of Aurora misplays recently. We've seen 2 E's shotgunning them into their own ult wall to ping them into the enemy team. That's been bad. And then we've seen that, which is a W into the ult, which then he cancels too early. That was
also bad.
That was also not the best, I assume.
See FPX here quite favoured in the game set purely because they're at sole point, I think, more than anything else.
That's big, yeah. No, that's huge. That's the other thing we're talking about. Win conditions for FPX, partly through side lane, partly through the right side.
Kalista here as well from Assume, gone towards the Wit's End second. You're into a Gwen and a Talia. Hell, even the Kaiser could have been, I suppose, flexing to AP at some point. So
my problem is, it's not an AP Kaiser, and Kaiser is going to absolutely shred you. Going towards the Zeal now, so might actually go towards the Hurricane after all a little bit later into the build. Could be the Phantom Dancer as well. We'll see exactly what Lee wants to do. I don't think he actually needs the wave clear. I think the actual assassination potential does make a lot of difference more at this point. Atacama being set up for a buy-in AP, of course, that's the only objective on the map right now. FPX needs to be wary of that.
Go towards that potential tier 2 top side, letting that shove up there while they start off the Atacama.
Yeah, it's a bit of a counterweight. We do see that normally for stuff like Dragons. Haven't seen it like this before. Shadow is coming around the corner. Gnar is at Mega Gnar now, but is going to be warded away from that. Wall comes through.
Down to 3,000 HP. Can Shadow find his way in? Doesn't have flash, so difficult to get across that. But he does it anyway! Steal secured! And Fun Plus Phoenix get their withdrawals. The hostile takeover is beautiful. Good quickness, though. Prevents the easy follow-up. They're going to get a lot of the withdrawals down, but nice shutdown onto Aki, who got blown up by the weirding. Shui will likely die here, but the damage is done.
I mean, you say that. Kez going to die as well. This will be all of the withdrawals from FPX for 1 kill. FPX, great Atacama take. Sheer loses the 1v1 in bot side to Shanji, and the rest of the team die on top side. Remember, you give up a lot of gold now for doing this. There's no Baron available. Shadow keeps going for the play and Leave is dead.
They took too long. Got to have the respawns. Doomby's also at 10% HP. Sheer, I think, didn't die, so I think he might have the withdrawal too, because I think he was bot side. I'm not quite sure.
No. This is what I'm saying. Sheer lost the 1v1 and he died to the withdrawal. So every single withdrawal is gone now. FPX, and remember, every withdrawal is still 200 gold and still some extra stuff over there. Realistically, if that shutdown hadn't come through, FPX would have been down in gold from the play. The big thing is the Atacon is not available from NIP, but that was too high P from FPX. They lost a big win that they just got themselves.
Still, though, they get the mid-tier 1. They can set up towards the Infernal Drake after, and there's a lot of flashes blown now. No flashes for NIP. Largely okay for the side of FPX, though. Assume will have his, Shadow will have his, Sheer will likely have his too. Those playmaking tools could be really big for what would be a soul fight. And Kaiser's not here on the setup.
Alright, so, Dragon, spawned. This would be soul for FPX. Do they have the spears in the objective? I think they should be rushing this. Honestly, I think they should be rushing this. They're onto a little bit slowly. Shanji does have teleport. He can recall and go for that. FPX now knowing that the Gwen is teleporting. Do they go for this rush? They have to. I think they have to rush to FPX. If they get this, they get the Infernal Assault, and that can be a win condition.
Shadow was hanging out on the flank to prevent any easy access. Gets on the wrong side of the wall here. And the spear's still in. Will be kept stacked. No, actually, they dropped. The stacks got dropped. Won't have the same rend capacity here. Potential fight flash on it for the hostile takeover. Doesn't work. That's Infernal Soul. Quickness used by the side of NIP to try and buy some time, but I just don't think it's going to be quite enough. The health bars disappear. But wait, look at Shanji on the back end of it. It's just snipping them all apart. Still, though, the HP bar of Shanji finally depletes, and they win out the fight. The Gwen doesn't have enough in the tank.
Infernal Soul, 4 for 2. Baron spawning soon. I think NIP might have just lost that game around that objective. Leave. Don't think he's going to get engaged onto here. Shadow doesn't have that ult. Big mistake by Care in that fight. He thought he could fly back onto Leave in the backline, finish him off. Ends up dying for it. I wonder whether Care could have kept himself alive and allowed FPX some more pressure on the map, but still, NIP. I felt like if they had survived that early game with that Kaiser, they'd be able to make a play and make a big mess of things. But with Gwen falling behind, they didn't have the side lane pressure, and they're not team fighting that effectively. Great hostile takeover. Watch how Care plays this. He gets a great combo first, but sadly for him, he goes a little too far onto Leave. He gets completely destroyed, I assume, by the Gwen there. Means that Leave doesn't get finished off. Leave is the only reason this isn't a clean wipe.
And we've kind of been saying, look, FPX feel really good right now, but actually now, we saw the stats. They got Soul Point. They stole the Atacon. They've had a really good few fights. Yes, some of the macro moves around the towers haven't been great. Yes, Leave on this Kaiser still very strong. Has got the Phantom Dancer now again. We wonder what that Zeal would turn into. But FPX are now really in a good position. It's right to praise them for being in a good spot here.
Absolutely.
And NIP might be going 1 and 2.
Yeah, that would be a real unexpected result from today. NIP, yeah, they got blasted by Top Esports, but this one feels like they've just lost the plot a little bit. I wonder whether the loss to Top Esports in the fashion they lost has rocked them a little. I wonder whether it has, because it feels like Shanji's not been on good form. I feel like Aki's been misjudging his plays. Durnby has been silent, invisible. Only been Leave, who's really been having a good game so far. PP Gold's been fine, I suppose. FPX, much better play from them with no holds barred playstyle, really. FPX playing very well around their teleports, just quickly pulling the trigger. I think Shadow's been picking his fights better than the last game we saw him in as well. Shot from Durnby. Blind into that push, wondering whether something was going to happen. Remember, of course, they have the Callista. They can use that to threaten Baron. Here we go. The ult from Durnby.
Trying to find an angle. Trying to get something here. Splits the team apart well enough. Care goes golden. Could still be in danger. Knocked up. Goes down. Nice pick. Leave gets it. But the hostile takeover is brutal. Gets a few of those health bars down, but all the while the damage is kind of done. Care's out. Still got that ability to keep going forward. Shanji throws down the needlework, and that gets a kill onto Shadow. All the hard work from FPX. Undone in moments. Baron's available and 3 are dead.
FPX, they have the Infernal Soul. You'd think they'd be winning team fights, but Care gets caught out. Really good wall from Durnby to force the issue. We're saying he was invisible. Well, he pops out a camouflage and makes a wonderful play there. NIP get themselves the Baron, and that might allow them to rectify and right the ship.
Need to get a fair amount of value out of this. They've still got themselves a gold lead here. They've got themselves those tier 2s to start sieging onto on the whole. We'll have a look at the replay. Because Care gets split off from the team. Does get across the wall, but then immediately PP God finds a Sonya solid.
And also, Assume doesn't get any damage done.
Yeah.
He misses his Q there as well. Assume gets legitimately 0 damage done in this. Care caught out. Assume on the other side of the wall. FPX, poor positioning around the choke point here, and Durnby punishes so well alongside the rest of his team.
Shanji gets to throw down the Ghost, throw down the ult, and just run down the remains of that team. The Gwen Now at 2 items, we got ourselves a pause for the first time today.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of them for a little while, so NIP and FPX will be taking a bit of a breather. Doonby laughing and...
It's his fault.
Look, this is the camera of shame. The first person the camera pans to after the pause is the culprit. Doonby's laughing. What's he done? Has he spilled a coffee?
He has one of those smiles where, like, it's a very entertaining smile, but there's that element of, what's that German word for, like, people with a punchable face? Like, you I can't remember. Because there is something about, you can imagine Doonby kind of doing a little bit like the little head roll type thing. Yeah. Hang on, wait, where's the camera? Yeah, kind of thing with his smile. And that would wind me up, you know? I could see him do that. There is the ability for Doonby to get in people's heads.
Okay.
Am I wrong, guys? I'm just saying, I think there's truth to that.
Right. So, I guess we wait to see until this resolves itself. Hope there's nothing too serious. We can get back underway. Second to last game today. Yeah, so we've got one more.
We have one more.
Copies for SnowBall at the last game of the day.
I fear for OMG, Alex.
Yeah, I do a little bit too.
Maybe they didn't live up to their namesake and pray. Maybe that's the way you get around it.
Turn to religion.
Or the AD carry player, I suppose, comes out of retirement. Shows him how it's done.
Going to game. Yes,
Hey,
yay!
we're out. They've saved us.
They've saved us from.
Did you enjoy the content, guys?
I enjoyed it, Sam. I enjoyed it. We don't. I have no idea what the cause of the pause was. I didn't hear anything there, and I'm just going to assume it was Doonby
Pondering the cat off is what we do.
pondering the cat. I have a emote in my Twitch chat actually, which is ponder, which is Ari looking at the orb.
Meow, to a greater extent, meow meow, and to a lesser, yeah.
Right, okay.
Right, you are, Tarquin, into the game.
Let's log back in. So,
Ward.
flank ward available. Sheer doesn't have Mega. Care could look for a teleport. They do have 5 grubs to NIP, which does help them. Of course, no Ruinous Atacon. It was Voracious this game, and they lost the Atacon anyway to a Smite to Shadow. Dragon Elder is up in 2 minutes. Is there going to be a teleport? Care could recall, get himself a Zhonya's and go for a big play, but that would require NIP to stay a little longer. Doesn't get the Zhonya's. It's a bit of a shame. He doesn't want to go for the teleport
nearly a
either.
mega.
And he has himself Flash too. That's the ult.
Anyway, it's not a great ult.
That's a lot of that damage down to shit. But I'll get that much out of that as well. NIP survived the punch back from FPX. Wasn't really a punch, really. It was like an airball.
I have to call out Mecha Fanboy in chat. Might be the Euler in chat to help sponsor the stream, but saying it was the cause was a pause is truly awful.
I'm not a fan. I am because I like bad jokes, but Right, it's going to be the base broken open. NIP, they don't have the Aurora ult anymore. That's a large amount of the damage, as you were saying. Rageblade picked up for Assume, but feels like that is just so late into the game. Well, it doesn't feel like it. It is just so late into the game to get that item. AD carry diff has been absolutely monumental.
From level 1
so far. Yeah, right away from level 1.
Because honestly, Assume Drake found what looked like a decent 2v2. The Aki being around meant they had to back off. We saw the level 1 reset. It is now a GA on Kai'Sa. What, like, how on earth do you ever kill this character? And with the build she's got, her 1v1 power, it's just unreal.
Well, the realistic answer to that is you somehow get Elder. That's the realistic answer. You can see that Shadow knows there's 40 seconds till Dragon says, look, I'm not going to be able to reset and get into a better position. I'm going to play some smoke and mirrors, stay on the map an extra minute hiding in fog of war. Look at the minimap. Look at this. It's on screen now. Going well around for the flank. It's a blue trinket. And is there any chance to make a play here? Leaf has the GA. Here comes the Vi. Who's he going onto? Is it going to
He goes on in and tries to jump on into it, but they can't quite make it happen. The turnaround comes on through. And they have to pull away all of the smoke and mirrors, and Mission Impossible goes so wrong.
I mean, I don't mind the effort from Shadow to try to get a extended play, but he uses Flash and the ult, and it only gets the Seekers.
No.
So FPX, that was their Hail Mary, and now NIV say, well, screw it, we don't need to go for the Elder immediately. Push up our lanes, we've escaped the Vi. Mission Impossible accomplished. Yeah, well, failed for Shadow,
failed.
I suppose. Yeah,
at the end of the franchise, it's over. Mission was in fact impossible.
Mission failed, we'll get him next time. Way potentially caught out. That's going to be a needlework going across the team.
Bloody hell, FPX are getting their asses kicked, that's for sure, and they'll back away. Someone load up an MP5 and stick them up for a 25 kill streak.
No, it's a different game, but Shadow tried to go in all sneaky breaky like, and sadly, gets absolutely one-tapped. Peeks around the corner. Doesn't land himself his headshot. So, Shanji, no needlework now, but I think you definitely take the Callista and the Violet being down in trade for that.
Over we go towards said Elder. Wall comes on through. PP God will go across it. Shadow now looking for an angle. Loyalty program there. No damage done really in this team fight yet. There's an auto or two traded, and that's about it.
This is a problem. They've actually just leashed the Elder. Can actually FPX rush this down? Let's go for a flip. FPX need the Elder to win the game.
Sheer goes for the angle. There's the quickness back on out. Over the wall, though, goes Leave with a wonderful ruthless access, and they do get a hold of the Elder to NIP. There's nowhere to go. The instincts were killer, and FPX will not respawn. It'll be tomorrow that they play. Well, not tomorrow, another day where they play.
Aki, sigh of relief. He loses the Atakan smite, but he secures the Elder in a hotly contested smite fight. NIP will find themselves with a 2-1 record to be expected, but not in the manner they achieved it.
On to the Nexus they go. It's taken. NIP play it out well. It looked interesting in the mid-game. We saw Infernal increased single target CC.
Yeah, so a little bit better pick potential. Good level 1 as well, worth noting. So if there's a level 1 play from OMG, watch see if Moem can get some value out of that. Last pick of the Alistair. Works okay into the Nautilus because you can pulverize as the Nautilus flies at you, and you can kind of cancel out his follow-up auto afterwards, but not always the easiest lane matchup.
And the headbutt has quite a lot of value against divers. You are a little shy on frontline, and realistically, Alistair is a tankiest support available because your R button is a thing.
To an extent. I would have argued that Braum could also have been fine here too to help against some of it, but not always the easiest to shut down stuff like the Aurora and the Misfortune. Could have gone Rel as well, I suppose, but still. Choosing to go towards Chris. Alistair will get ourselves into our last game of the day and our last group to play so far. Each group will then have another day to round off their second round robin and determine who's going into first, second, third, and fourth. First, top 2 go into Group Ascend. Fourth goes straight out into Group Nirvana, and then the remaining third place teams play off for 2 spots above, 2 spots below. And then we'll play out our best of 3 stage after that, which will be hopefully a little bit more interesting with Fearless involved.
Yes, if you think it's all over, no, they will play a second time. Okay, ready to go. Very janky Monty Python reference. There is no snakes on the rift today. There's no Cassiopeias. There is, however, a lot of doggos. Neferi again being played. Kanavi had an absolute stormer of a first showing on it earlier today. Another comp where if it does start getting scrappy, it does start getting fractured, Neferi could run at a lot of these players and make them feel really, really sad indeed. A lot of this early game and a lot of these early objectives could prove pretty pivotal here, because I think if we see Kanavi get another lead, it's going to look dicey for OMG. We've got the music kicking off as the light show begins, and our final match sure to follow.
OMG
facing up against their old mid laner in Cream for this one. It's been a bit of a lineage of OMG today, with so many former players spread across the teams in this group. Top Esports came back from first stand, embarrassed and disappointed by their results there. They have smashed out the games today, though, looking to close off a 3-0 and continue their regional dominance.
Oh boy. Dio's cut off there as violence begins in multiplace. Harry eats a really ugly chunk from 369.
Yeah, but he'll be able to recall. That's actually not a problem. The problem is losing the flash in the mid lane, because that's actually tangible. That will stay. We did say, hey, Nautilus, good level 1 plan, and they come out with something. That is always a reason to pick up the Nautilus if you can actually abuse that. Linfeng going to go in towards the enemy jungle, drop down a ward. Kanavi will spot him going in there, though, and know by relation, okay, there's a ward on my camp. So he'll know that he's been spotted, so it's a, I know you know.
But do you know I know you know? And also, you got a Gust Walker for additional doggo. You got the little Gust Walker hatchet.
True, yeah, the little wolf thing. Yeah.
It's like
a lot of
Cuckoo's
people.
doggo.
Was anyone around in Season 6, by the way, folks, that used to play with the old Smite buff? So you get the wolf buff. You get the little wolf following you and alerting the
Yeah, because every
jungle.
camp, depending on the camp you smoke, you got different things.
Yeah. Cream was looking to go put a ward into the enemy jungle to spot out the Raptor start. Warded off by Linfeng, though. Well, is it like warded off in the combat sense of it? Get to go to like
Missed his first CS as well. It's all over now. No winning now. Deserve to show that one off. Nice piercing arrow. Again, piercing arrow at the level 1. Interesting we're seeing that with the Alice. It's clearly saying we're going to get shoved in anyway. I'd rather have the more of the damage to at least trade out, and then when we get level 2, we can look for shove.
Vincent asking in Onivia's chat, which draft do you think scales better? Well,
that's an interesting
that
question.
If it comes to straight 5v5s, I think top Esports have better damage most of the time, because I think they have better damage because it feels like the Neferi can actually carry a team fight. The Nocturne can get your first kill, but can't necessarily do much more after that. Ambassador Jace, pull out a wash. Rise Aurora, maybe a wash too.
Probably Rise does outscale.
Yeah, but then Aurora in late game just one-shot someone or remove someone, right? I think this is more about execution. Top Esports, they have very good skirmish combo. OMG have better straight-up team fight. I think it's much easier for them to press their buttons and get some value. Top Esports need to work a little harder to get their damage in the right places. But as we saw against NIP earlier, Top Esports, they're good at their individual pieces enough that matters. Kanavi is going to watch over there. Spotted out. Is he going to go for a smite fight? There's bot lane has Prio, so the Nautilus can come in.
Crisp's coming. Starry's there. Linfeng also around. This could get very messy indeed.
Gets
it. Gets over the wall. Nice smite, Kanavi.
And Kanavi was even there like, look, you can throw a Nautilus hook at me. Good chance the dog blocks the hook as well. So it's not even that good of a pick of the Nautilus at early game into the Neferi. And of course, you throw your ult at them. They can press a W and get out of that too. So Kanavi, great spot. Hung now slowed down his jungle clear to go over to this. Kanavi can go into the enemy jungle now. And
there, become a bot.
No, but you can at least go into this and say, well, Nocturne can't be on bot side of the map now. There's nothing for you here. So bot lane has to play respectfully, and it gives a platform for Jackulove and Chris to play off of.
Can Crisp look for a flash pulve here or a flash headbutt?
Not onto Moen, I don't think.
Oh boy, they can. They found the angle. Here comes Kanavi trying to find his way out. Moen's walking the wrong way for this, not respectful of the dogs coming on in. We'll call the pack. And Moam, now having a look down, a lot of dogs indeed, eviscerates over the wall, and the Darkin daggers do their work.
So, the answer to the question, can he look for a flash headbutt? Yeah, he can. But the thing is, Moam has flash, and he should never be positioning like that. You know you're on the weak side of the map. Nocturne had no reason to be on bot side and needed to keep farming. And now suddenly you have Kanavi with the first blood. And no, it doesn't give you extra gold anymore, but just the kill gold and the fact that he's so prevalent across the map is a big problem. Going to trade Raptor Steel for Raptor Steel now as well. Moham's going to come in and maybe try and stop something here, but I don't really know if he wants to stick around.
Yeah, we can essentially get over the wall, but on the other side, Rune's prison onto the Aurora, so she can't join super quickly. Hung now coming on over. 3v3 on the cards. Hook does land, but the Darkin daggers come on through, and Kanavi now really scary, but Starry's roamed up. Varus is back in base, goes untargetable with the pack. Gets another Darkin daggers out, flash on 4 for the orders. Can't quite get it, but the double up does follow and finally gets the kill on the dogs.
Greed from Kanavi, doesn't use his flash, didn't want to. And OMG come back out onto the map and do something crisp. What's he going to do now? The recalls will be just about completed. Ooh. They'll be completed. There was probably about a second or two too late there. Not the closest timing it could have been. Moham gets something out of that play, losing of course the 1v1 versus the Neferi. Kanavi, if he'd hit the first dagger, he could have got that second dagger for the heal at the end there. But
Did manage to do so. While all this is happening, 369 has himself a easy CS lead on top side. Grub spawning in 40 seconds. We have a bot lane rotation up towards them. Story and Moham going early. However, the problem is now Jaculov can probably, shuffle a wave in towards bot side, recall, get himself better items. Well, maybe not actually because the first blood, but he can get himself items, go up towards top side, and he'll still be able to play around the grubs if he wants.
Yes. Yes, he will. Of course, Navi's still got himself a flash, still potentially very scary, especially if Linfong walks straight into the Darkin Daggers, eviscerates forward, goes with the weirding, but the call of the pack did pretty good work. Going to flash back on in, and Kanavi flashed out to no avail. Just enough healing, trying to get over the wall, does so. Hung doesn't have the flash, looking for the Duskbringer, can't find it, and Kanavi walks away.
Kanavi couldn't get the Q on the bleeding target for the heal the first time, but he does in this play. Gets the heal onto the champion and a large monster there as well on the wolves, showing exactly why Nifir is so annoying to shut down with that Q2 healing on a bled target.
Fong burns the ult, Hung finds the flash.
Realm
so
War.
Play this, there's the Realm War, OMG in danger! And the Nocturne with no flash is swiftly deleted.
Kanavi's healed up off of the wolves and come over towards the grubs. There was a single grub taken by OMG, but Kanavi will go up and take the remaining two. Kanavi gets himself onto the objective boards there with the help of his team.
Gonna burn his smite on this one. We'll save it for the second one. Actually, got to keep an eye out because here comes the Misfortune and Nautilus. They might still want to play this. Standing behind the grub. Will Kanavi trade his life out? But it says, yeah, no, I can't keep doing this.
Now, what that does is just delay it. Because actually, they're not going to take the grub itself. Hung is on the bot side of the map. Jaculov is frozen out bot side and gets some value from denying golden XP. 369 maintaining a 20 CS lead over Ambessa, who's been denied that CS on the bot side by Jaculov. So that's kind of helping cross-map there. Jaculov getting good value here.
Feels like we've seen a lot of Ambessas today end up in really tricky scenarios. It's been a great day for the War Mother. Good empowered Q there. Blighted stacks are pretty silly.
That was, that's why you don't want to get hit by Varus skill shots when you've got 3 Blighted Quiver stacks on you. Very nasty. Jaculov, of course, going for the poke build as well.
What's that skin, by the way?
That's the Celestial Varus one, isn't it?
Ah, the bow looks cool.
He has a lot of cool ways. That's kind of his whole shtick.
That's in fairness, I grant you that.
I'm a really big fan of Darkstar, but with the red and black chroma. That's
Very
really
cool.
That's
I've got that one for Oriana.
Now, Angie hates Arctic Bat Varus. I really like it because the sound effects are very satisfying.
Bet.
I think it's the one skin she just like, actually. But, yeah. Varus has good skins. Yeah, it's very cool animations. And then there's a couple of... Does DRX have one? No, they don't. That was Caitlyn Ash. That wasn't that.
Yeah.
It has the Celestial. And then it has like the Celestial one. So he actually has 2 star theme skins.
Okay, so $1,000 gold lead to top esports, largely found in top and mid, where a kill's gone over and a lot of CS is happening. So that's great news for top esports on that regard. The early objectives not really going either way because the grubs were split and no one started the early dragon. That's kind of all there is to write home about right now.
See, just in the short trades there. 369 even before first item managed to get a really good trade onto Harry. He tries to, Q forwards and get the Q2. Just gets punted away with an extra auto attack, and Jace is suddenly, taking quarter of your HP. Jace is so strong in LPL right now. It's been banned almost every game. And I think the only notable Jace loss I can think of was...
You playing it last night in solo queue. Yeah.
TT played it in mid lane, and Setab got ganked 2 or 3 times, went 0-3, and then proceeded to do nothing. But in top lane, there's nothing which beats Jason lane right now, and you can't lane swap on it anymore. It's really annoying.
Very tricky to manage, and those laning prowess moments become very challenging indeed. Jaculov shoving out this bot side wave, and Misfortune not at the Bloodthirsty yet, and that means the Dirk build probably going to be quite annoying at this point, even with the Vamp Scepter.
Dragons Alive, Top Esports would like to get onto that board. Reminder, Top Esports, their real power's around skirmishing, though. You use that Realm Warp, you use your... You've got Kanavi level 6 now, remember? And one of the big changes about Neferi is you used to level up the distance your dash could travel to, the Handspeed's use. Now it's just everything, and here is that Realm Warp, and here comes Kanavi with his own ult, wave clear ult.
Not going to be quite enough. Moen gets a decent moment, but the Hound's Pursuit comes on through. You can't dodge, you can't block, you just die. Nice gank.
Dog ends up taking 1 tower shot as well. Crisp using his ult to do that. There was a reset on the ult of the Neferi. It only resets once, but that's more than enough. That's why Moham had to flash away. If there was a dog flying after him,
he would have been in so much trouble. So not only do you kill Starry, you get Moham's flash as well for free with the threat of the reset.
I agree. Where are we at now? 2 kills basically on Cream is the big starting point for me. This Rise is going to be very scary.
There's a question in Twitch chat. Did Jace receive a buff this patch? Well, not directly, but lane swaps are gone. So yes, he did. Jace was not very good in lane swaps.
Systemic.
It's why we saw you know, Unending Despair and Grasp Jace come to priority in a lot of ways, because if you go for early kills onto the Jace, the extra HP and the extra survivability does make a difference, and with going for Grasp, you could use your runes to survive lane swaps. Yes, there were other reasons like efficiency of tank items too, but that was a big reason for it. Now people have continued to use that Grasp, and it makes it harder for Nocturne and Bessa to shut you down in mid-game, but your laning dominance is never in question now. You can just go into standard lanes and feel a lot better.
Rune Prison lands onto Linfong, who eats a lot of damage. Overload just wide that time around. Still, this Rise off to the races, and again, when you go for this stacking build with the Roa and the Seraphs, the fact that you're getting to these breakpoints earlier feels really, really good.
Yeah, 2 kills on that Rise means that your time-dependent items get put in much earlier. 369, great damage onto him. You're going forward to the acceleration gate. 369, of course, at the start of his career was a Jace god. That was one of his picks of choice. Picked it up again in the last year or two. While, you know, in 22, 23 particularly when he's on JDG, he was the tank guy. He played Cassante, he played Sion, he played Ornn. And that was kind of his job. Fight over the Scuttle Crab, flash combo, he didn't spell shield it.
No, he did not. Gets knocked up. Finally has the Hound's Pursuit come on through into the Darkin Daggers, and Kanavi resets.
That's that reset, and goes down. Kanavi's Neferi. Yeah, this is something you need to ban now, folks. I've seen enough of this now. If he combos up with any other... Hang on, he has the reset. Can he hop over the wall? There's a chance he can jump forwards for that. He has flash.
Here we go! Goes to Eviscerate as well. Goes between worlds. Can still potentially look to chase. There's the flash with Darkin Daggers. Flash away now and Eviscerate over the wall. Well timed with that call of the pack to interrupt, I believe, the hook as well.
Kanavi didn't have his reset. Just timed out and went on cooldown. Otherwise, I think that would have been a dead Aurora. Goes back, buys out the Ludens, but he's away from the lane, loses some CS, has to teleport down towards bot side, but not before Cream has taken a plate. I believe that was taken on that wave. That wasn't eagle-eyed enough.
He did.
For that one. And Grubs have spawned. Kanavi, no flash, no ult. I think he's going to walk up towards it. Probably secure 5 of these. Is there going to be a contest? We'll see.
I think Kanavi being around, not having the ult.
Okay.
Tricky.
Might be harder now.
Okay, good flash away, but now they're going to turn it around with the paranoia. Kanavi's around, but involves the knock-up from the depth charge. Well-timed W. They still lose Jace nonetheless. They overplay a little bit there, but overcomes Cream. Might still want to trade this one out. They've earned a lot of ultimate to finally bring down 369. Public execution from the backside, but not really too much avail. They lose Moab.
He just dies, and Harry goes in and goes like, yes, I got the Neferi, got the Neferi. They completely ignore him. They go towards his teammate, kill off the support. Now Top Esports look at this team and say, well, you're not going towards Grubs. And Harry, he has no ult now under turret. Has flash. How's he getting out of this one? Probably not.
Headbutted into the wall, delays the pulverize to get the most CC they can. Flash away means nothing. They finally lose the Alistair, but the Hound's Pursuit's back up and available. So Kanavi keeps rolling. Jackie barriers the turret shot. And Top Esports just dive with the Neferi.
And the Rise gets the machine gun all the while. Top Esports, they said, hey, look, their power is in skirmishing. Guess where they've gotten all of these kills? It is in these skirmishes. They managed to catch people off guard using the extended engage range of the Rise with Realm Warps, the Neferi ultimate, who gets that reset under turret, gets the shield, and just starts to just shred through with so much damage alongside the Rise. This isn't even Rise who has items yet. His row is not completed. He doesn't have a Seraphs. This only gets worse from here. OMG, they get themselves to their one item. They... You know, that's not a bad spike for Nocturne, for Aurora, but it's not been even fights. They're fighting against uneven numbers because Top Esports, much like the Covenant in the Halo series, they've always been faster.
And they will continue to be so. That's not going to change this game. Jackie finds Moam, tries to duck away, pressed look for a good chunk, and oh my god.
That's a
Can you tell Jackie's got an item or two?
And can you tell that there's no armor on that Nautilus, and he's 3 levels down on the Poke Varus. Moham doesn't get to play the game now. Realistically, he doesn't get to play the game. Even if he gets a hook, this is now what we call losing support syndrome. Happens with Leona, happens with Nautilus, happens with Alistair, Ral, what have you. You go into a play, you immediately die when you're behind the game because you rely on having levels. You rely on the enemy team not having gold to one-shot you when you look for that one piece of skill CC.
turn it around. The Rune Prison comes on through, and at this point, it feels like Linfeng is just behind the curve against this Rise. He's got the Merc Tread's got a lot of HP to work with. Your burst combo doesn't hurt the Rise quite the same way he hurts you.
1.5k gold up. Has himself level lead. Level 11 gives you the extra combat stats as well from your combos. Harry getting comboed down by 369. There is an ult on Alistair if they want to dive for this, but Chris calls off the play.
And they decide against that one. Minute till Dragon, 30 seconds till Herald. Young around on this Nocturne, gone 2 and 3, but again, you've gone the Hexblade build. You're there to be a facilitator in a lot of ways. It feels like a lot of your follow-up is not really in a great space this game, and Bess is still not at first item, for example.
And Ambessa really needs 2 items. So while we're talking about, well, Rise ahead of the curve, he's going to get his time-dependent items. Jace is about to be hitting second item, realistically, with a 1.5k gold lead.
It's 50 CS up.
And that's largely, a lot of that is from 369's brute force laning phase. Now, a lot of that's the macro as well, where Harry's been denied CS by Jackulov when he was left in a 1v1 versus the Varus. There's a roll up towards topside, and the skirmishes continue forcing out ult for ult.
Hungers around, and Linfeng down that potentially key ult. Will not be able to use it for this Herald playing Kanavi here. Calls the pack to get all those dogs up and available. Jackie needs to be aware, knows he's in danger the moment he sees the ward go down. Ghostblade flash away.
Really wonder whether Martin could have just flash hooked him into the ult. I think that might have been enough to get something back. Jackulov losing his flash, but it's enough to see him to safety. Starry feels a little bit bad that they have to blow both ultimates for just the summoner. When they're this far behind in the game, that doesn't actually feel that great.
I think especially if you just hold off from going towards the Mana Moon and the Muramana and go towards the edge of Night Second, which has often been Jackie's choice on the Varus, you don't even necessarily get to do that as freely again. He's not going to be miles off that completion with how strong he is this game. Rounds another arrow, that'll break the Bloodthirster shield. Moam, kind of in a weird spot. They now try to jump onto Jackie. We'll get the fear, but look on the other side. How's Pursuit the Story, who just has to run away.
Oh, Chris.
Kanavi eviscerates the backline and goes pursuing in there. They've let loose the slugs, the dogs of war. It's Julius Caesar all over again. Find yourself a Shakespearean quote or two, because it is looking epic here for Top Esports.
Cry havoc as Kanavi goes into the play, 4-1 and 5. But honestly, the animal which I'm paying attention to is the cow of the support. Crisp's Alistair has been exceptional. Yes, Kanavi is getting the kills. Yes, he is getting involved in the plays. But honestly, this game, my MVP is Crisp on that support. So good at turning up at the right place at the right time. Top Esports, not taking their foot off the accelerator and just decking OMG across the map.
And again, people are going to ask, where the hell was this team at first stand? Part of it is the level of opposition. Part of it, you have to feel, was a little bit of tilt coming from some of these players. Look how much better Crisp looks when he's confident.
The thing is, Top Esports, we talked about it in their last game versus NIP as well. This team struggles when their bot lane falls behind because Crisp doesn't make plays like this when he's behind. Jackulov can't put out damage like this when they're behind. And it also means that Kanavi doesn't get to have this kind of lead because he knows his bot lane is safely ahead without his intervention as well. A lot of people, will be disappointed by Top Esports at first, and I count myself among one of those people, right? I was very disappointed with how they played there. And I am kind of annoyed that other teams in the LPL haven't figured out that you have to gank bot lane to shut down the team, because, look, we said this before, the blueprint is you gank bot lane and make sure they're in a 2v3, because Kanavi will never babysit bot lane. He's not a bot lane babysit player. He wants to play for early jungle invades. He wants to play for individual advantage. And he wants to leave bot lane alone because he can trust him in the 2v2. If that's a 2v3, then that becomes a bit of a problem. Kanavi doesn't get himself an individual lead because the map's behind. Jackulov and Chris don't get to make their plays either. And other teams in the LPL, at least today, have not been punishing that. We'll see how it goes through into the Ascend stage if Top Esports were to make that. And it's very likely that they would make it through into that. And of course, later playoffs as well. But a reminder, folks, Top Esports are LPL champions for a reason. Very good playing regionally here when the other teams have not found out that blueprint just yet.
Also, part of it for me as well is it feels like there's a lot of newer or unproven LPL junglers in the mix right now. We don't have as many veterans or superstars as perhaps we once did. We've still got a few. Obviously, Kanavi up there for sure, but Shun and Wei, a bit of a downturn. They were kind of right up there with some of the ones we favoured.
You're left with, what, Tarzan, Tien?
Those two, yeah.
Tarzan and telling the other guys, I'm like, okay, these guys can actually cause a real havoc just on their own. And then everyone else feels a little bit more team dependent. They're playing with very strong lanes, so it's not always on them. Someone like Shun, I think, falls into that bracket, like plays very well around winning lanes, but not necessarily the person that will be the strategic masterclass jungler in terms of pathing.
For me, I think some of it as well for Shun is he's a little bit more limited at times at a player to be really elite. I mean, as you said, fantastic with winning lanes. Without them, doesn't look as confident in terms of how to look at a map.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been something
for a long time.
It's been criticism for Canavia points.
Yeah.
You know, I think that he overcame that on the JDG Super Team year, but from 2020 to 2022, it felt like he would always invade. He'd always get an individual advantage. But if you could just counter his invade, well, protect your Raptors, you protect yourself against Canavi. That was the formula for a while. I think he's gone beyond that, of course. Paranoia going on to Nefiri. He has a W. He uses it now. Can he get out? He can.
Wait, Realm Warp? Not quite. No, he's gone.
And he kills!
Kill?
And he kills with the bleed afterwards. The second fadeaway Q. Canavi and Cream outplay in a 2v4.
I genuinely have no words. It is crime we see onto the screen. Someone get themselves a number for the police, because that surely cannot be legal. Cream gonna get knocked up, but Canavi's still here. Can go for the wall, massive bleed damage on the Starry. Hounds Pursuit trying to get the kill, cleanses the bleed, still gets the resets, and all the dogs are there, and Harry tears them apart.
The dogs go for the throats. Canavi. Oh my god, the pack is in town. And he's top dog.
I mean, when they say it's a dog's dinner, they don't mean that. Oh my days. I have not seen something that brutal in a very, very long time.
I love the way, as Lin Fong, he might even die here to 369, gets the flash out. I love the way that Canavi is not even going for the Q2 on some targets, saying, look, you're going to bleed, you're going to die, I'm going to throw a Q at another target instead. Get the bleed on everyone. Doesn't need all of the burst damage from the Q2 onto the single target. He knows the mechanics of this champion. He's played it so much in solo queue. You have to ban this, folks. You have to ban this. I don't even think this needs to be a perfect draft Nefiri anymore into the fight, into the Nocturne, something like that. Canavi sees the angle. The cooldowns are used elsewhere. Gets the Q2 over the wall. Ults over and says, right, I've done my damage. Uses the W to immune the Nautilus ult again. Gets himself the reset. The reset on the ult gives you a shield as well. The second time you cast it gives you a shield. And getting the Q2s as well. Give you a heal through it. Canavi, so damn mechanically clean on the Nefiri.
Well, we go again. No Canavi quite yet, but how far out of range is he with that ultimate? Counter Pursuit back up and available. The bullet time flash away from the chains of corruption, but the Rune Prison sets up for the arrow, shooting a, well, I suppose a diver in a barrel. The fish are somewhat immaterial.
That pressure suit has been punctured. The bends coming from Moham, taking him down. Top Esports, quick game to end out the day. I'm sure a lot of people, yes, will be looking towards these games saying, look, they were going to be Top Esports hates watchers now. I don't think there's that much material for them here. I don't think we're learning as much about Top Esports, except that Canavi can play a main Nefiri. Has the ultimate, he's going to use it again. Yes, he is. Moham has his ultimate. He might have gone too deep now. What's he got with his W?
Hellhound's trying to drag Starry off to the namesake. Gets the knock-up, finally goes down, and that's a little too deep.
Was he uses W onto the hook and not the Nautilus ultimate. This time Moham ends up outplaying the Nefiri. Does go into a 1v3, nearly takes down Starry, but still goes down. Good gold over to OMG. A little too far from Canavi this time.
Can they get anything off this? I don't know. 369 is quite deep here. There's a wall behind. He needs to be pretty wary. There's three people about to come up. He's about to face check an Nautilus. Gets hooked, pulled back into the wall. Tackling blows, comes on down. Thundering blow is there. Is he going to cross across the veil that Lin Fong puts up? Still steps on forward. Oh my god, this is 1v3. As Hunk's coming around, he gets one. Wow. Starry's finally there. Yeah, you might bring down the Jace, but not before he nearly takes another with him.
Holy crap, that last Q did way too much damage. The increased move speed from his swift marches of the feats of strength really helping him outplay with the acceleration gate. Anticon goes down, it's the Ruinous. And by the way, folks, they're going to get themselves even more stats now from those bloody petals, giving them adaptive force and a little bit of XP across the board too. There is there's an XP advantage in every role. Canavi has a 3-level advantage in jungle, once again out-leveling enemy solo laners and equal level with his own top laner. Canavi's made a bit of a habit of this within the LPL. Noam came around the corner here. 6-level disadvantage onto the Jace. And, yeah, 369, pretty strong here. Goes into that 1v3 with the, well, technically an extended 1v4 after this. Realizes, look, I'm not going to get out. Let's just go turn around some damage. Gets that one kill back and nearly one-shots in this combo. This is an unrealistic amount of damage. That's ridiculous.
I really appreciate the timing there as well. Stays in hammer form long enough to get the transformation off cooldown to get to full combo in the hammer form and then immediately switches over. It was really good there. Take away of the red buff. Soul point secured by Top Esports as well. Empowered, of course, by that Ruinous Atachan. They've picked up a load of bloody petals too. Now 52 to their name.
I like the Serpent's Fang on Kanavi as well. Obviously,
Yeah.
the base lethality is nice, but it goes with Bloodthirster Shield on Misfortune. If you're going for the true one-shot, it helps with that. As Mohamed, is he going to get... Oh, he's just out of vision. Kanavi needs to get vision for the ultimate.
boy.
Is he going to use it now? Realm Warp's coming through. Kanavi can start pulling the daggers.
Oh, and sends the hounds forth. Again, they get the kill. There's the Zhonya's blast for the triple pull. Chris is his namesake. Chains of Griffin just shy, but in comes the hounds pursuit. They leap on forwards. It's looking like an XL bully game because they're bullying OMG off the rift.
Top Esports rip, tear, and make OMG their meal. Top Esports 3-0 for the day, coming back from first stand, proving why they're still champions, let's be honest.
I mean, look at that. It's a 4K lead topside. There's monstrous numbers wherever you care to look, and Top Esports clearly did not take their first stand loss.